This recording will not be the recording that is 3 hours. This recording will not be the recording that is 3 hours!
3 hours later.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Weeb Roundup. Normally, I would say, welcome to episode 4 of the Weeb Roundup, but at this point, we're gonna hit the highest highs of all syndication known to man, that if I start numbering every single episode, there's gonna be an expectation, and I don't want to be the person that says, hello, and welcome to episode 378 of the Weeb Roundup, where somehow, over a year later, we are still recording every single week.
I'm gonna start counting them now, and I'll tell you when we get to 420. Okay, in like X amount of years. What is it? 1, 3, 4. It's like 6 years, 7 years, 8 years.
Okay,
8 years.
If we somehow make it to episode 420, what would we do?
Will that be the one episode where we finally get Nick to try weed?
It's a Patreon exclusive. If we get that, if we get that far and we don't have a Patreon, we should have quit a long time ago.
We have that is the episode where finally I will pull out I will reenact my favorite scene from Kara no Kyokai, where they weaken Ryogi Shiki by injecting her with a vial of marijuana. Kara no Kyokai is a trip.
I'm excited to see more of those movies. We've only watched 2 of them, but they're very good.
They're very, very good movies. I would always recommend Kara no Kyokai.
Yeah.
But I guess that kind of leads into my intro of kind of what I want to talk about here for a bit, because there's going to be a big change, but I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. First off, I'd like to kind of know how's everyone doing? What's everyone been up to this week since the last recording, roughly, give or take?
Doing all right. Doing all right on this here Always Face Left podcast. Because I don't know if you noticed that, Nick, that on the preview for the visuals, we're all facing left at all times.
No, yeah, it's by design. It's by design.
In fact, my character is looking to the right and forcibly.
Yeah,
facing
exactly.
I should get a new commission done for the show, like for my thumbnail that is also facing left.
Oh my god. Look, it's Go Straight from Streets of Rage 2, but instead it's just our thumbnail and it just says Go Left, but it is also composed by goddamn Yuzo Koshiro. So we have bopping beats. But yeah, this week's been pretty good for me. So this week I've kind of started a bit of a ritual. Back on topic to my new TV again, because I can't get over the fact that I now own a TV that is smarter than I am.
Listen, you spend that much money on a piece of tech, and you're like, I need to talk about this for at least 2 weeks.
At least 2 weeks minimum.
Like, do you know how long I talked about the fact that I bought an electric toothbrush after I got it? Like, no, I'm
That's
serious.
how you know we're in our 20s and approaching our 30s.
It's like, no, best money I ever spent. I was like, I've been brushing my teeth normally like a goddamn troglodyte, dude. Listen, if you're not already using an electric toothbrush, I would recommend it. It's great.
Electric is the way of the future, just like with cars. But with the new TV, every night before I go to sleep, I'm like, I want to put something on that's not going to require a lot of brain power, and something that I can just kind of enjoy to have on the TV screen to either laugh at or chill. A normal person would be like, I'm gonna go onto Netflix and watch Friends because I'm boring. Me, I go onto Retro Crush and I pull up episodes of Samurai Troopers. Except they say it's Samurai Troopers, but they don't have the original Japanese dub of Samurai Troopers, so I get to watch Ronin Warriors, which is the best boys in armor show. It is the pinnacle of Canadian dubbing. Like, oh my god, this was like some hella early, like, 90s ADR shit, where you were hearing people struggling to fit those mouth flaps, and you were hearing deliveries like, I am Ryo of the Wildfire! And it's like, it's peak 90s delivery. Like, it is a satisfying little romp to get to lie down every night to the sultry tones of Ryo of the Wildfire and hearing everyone, whenever they're about to start going into a battle, changing into their armor, going, "Down Teen!" And I don't even know what that means. I'm pretty sure that's Chinese. I'm so baffled, but at the same time, I get to pretend that I'm like 12 again on that week that I found out that Cartoon Network was Channel 19. And I found what Cartoon Network, that it was a thing and even existed. And I've been giddy all of this week because of it. Also, just getting to watch Ippo more. And then also watching all of the other stuff for the stuff that we are going to be talking about today.
How much Ippo did you watch?
We'll get to that shortly. So I started where I left off on the original series. Because I've watched part of New Challenger. I watched all of Rising. But I only managed to get up to about episode 60-ish of the original series.
Of Champion Road, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm at around episode... I think I got back up to about episode 60. The last episode I watched was the group date. Where Mashiba...
Oh, man, you're 12 away.
Yeah, I watched I watched Mashiba just sneak up on Ippo being like, the train station's that way. Oh, thank you. Ah! And then, just fucking Ippo shitting his pants seeing Mashiba, the jobber that he is.
High on drugs.
I know I'm nuts. I'm high on coffee.
Oh, man.
Ma'am.
Speaking of being high on drugs and Retro Crush and Ippo, I got super high last night and went on, this weird, trip of, watching a bunch... I watched openings 7 through 9 of Naruto. Because, God, I love those openings.
Those are actually of regular Naruto?
Yes.
Those are actually decent openings. It just really sucks what's happening during them.
Oh yeah. No, because don't tell me that every time I watch number 9, Yura, the animation in that, God, the choreo is so good.
Oh man, when I was a kid, oh shit. That took me to space. I was 11. I saw that opening, I was like, this is the best thing to ever happen in the world.
I'm trying to remember. Opening 8 is the
Yeah. Whoa.
That OP
that's 8.
to this day is just permanently burned into my mind.
Yeah, that's a good opening. But getting back on track to what I was trying to segue into was in this whole bit of just me getting high and just watching stuff. I did briefly watched a bunch of Ippo openings, and specifically the one for New Challenger that's Hekiriki, because I love that opening.
Oh fuck, the New Challenger opening is so good.
That opening is exactly too fast for its own good.
It is too fast for its own good, but it's also the way that I found out about my favorite band ever.
Oh yeah. No, I think the one thing I noticed when I was watching it, I was like, if I had to, make an opening choreo to Hekiriki, I do think I actually would have made the cuts a bit faster. Just my personal preference, because there were some shots that were lingering a bit too much. But aside from that, though, there's one movie on Retro Crush that I really want to watch sometime soon because my buddy Hunter keeps bringing it up. It's called Kite. Apparently, it's super fucking gory, and there's a lot.
I know about that. Is it Is it pronounced Kite? Because I've always heard it pronounced kite.
I every time Hunter said it, it's been Kite, and I just never really questioned it.
You just never doubted them?
Yeah. I was like, no,
happens.
Hunter's seen this movie. He keeps talking about how good it is and how much he wants to watch it with everybody. So I'm like, you've clearly watched this movie several times. I'm just gonna say it's Kite.
I'm going to assume it is Kite. However, I've only ever heard people call it kite. So part of me now is like, oh God, is this just one of those things where English is a stupid language when you're comparing it to every other language and we're just misreading it like a goddamn idiot?
Wouldn't be surprised.
Is this actually a weird tight Kubo thing? Because I used to call him Tite Kubo, and then I learned, no, it's actually tight Kubo, and I'm like, fuck you.
I thought it was tight Kubo when I was a kid, so I just then I heard someone say Tite Kubo, and I was like, that's fair. And then so I didn't question either.
Phonetically, that sounds more accurate to what the syllables are. But I mean,
no,
if it's
phonetically
tight.
it would make sense, but it's actually Taikubo.
I mean, all I'll say is, I'm gonna call it Kite just because, like, you know, trying to look it up on Google and trying to just say, oh, kite anime. The fuck does that? Is there an anime that has to do with a kite? I don't fucking know.
But Lana, what have you been up to other than trying desperately to catch up to the pit of anime that you've resigned yourself into?
Reading Spy Family.
Absolutely.
Nothing else. Like every time I lay in my bed, I read 3 chapters of Spy Family, which is like Attack on Titan length chapters, but like there's actual content. So it's like, it is a little bit of a slog the way that I read it, but that's how I read all anime. So it really is just good to be back to work.
Read all manga, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, okay. I thought I was having a stroke for a second.
Well, I mean, am I really not reading anime when everyone's watching sub? Like, I can't understand what these people are saying. It's not Daijobu. So like, like when I've been reading Spy, that's really like all I've been doing. I went on a tear in some tournaments and won some stuff that was kind of cool. Then I lost one really brutally, which happens all the time.
Oh yeah, that's life.
Yeah, so I had a streak going, and then I started talking about how I had a streak going, and the streak broke.
No, yeah, that's
Like
100%. You're going through that arc of
I
like
commentators cursed myself really hard.
You commentators cursed yourself. You're going through that Ippo arc of like, yeah, I'm hot shit. And then all of a sudden someone finds out the secret to the Dempsey roll and you like slam your head in their fist and you just die. Volg like holds his fist out and you just ram your head into it at Mach 2 and you just
the
die.
White Fang? Don't mind if I do. I'll take the White Fang. I'll be fine. I've been playing a lot of games just because like I need to get through this stock. So I've been playing a lot of Arceus. I took a step back from my show just so I could like not have to think about it as hard because our campaigns have been suspended indefinitely. Which was like soul crushing at first, but I'm just trying to get myself back in gear. I'm gonna start writing and I'm gonna come back with gusto and it's gonna be really great. I've got some ideas that I've been having about like character writing, and maybe I'll get into them while we're talking about Jujutsu Kaisen and Spy Family.
Ooh.
But like I've got a lot of writing to do. When your main character is a big Giratina buff, it's time to start really thinking about how you want Pokemon portrayed in your show about Pokemon.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask, considering
Sure.
So is now the fact that, you know, like, yeah, you can't do the campaigns now, isn't it better because it means that you have more time to like write the show up to the point where the campaigns are?
Yes, that is true. I just wanted to have a little bit of space because the campaign that I've been paying for, like the retelling of, it's been done for 6 years. Like so like I have 30 episodes of content like written out or outlined, but I only have 7 episodes of content like scripted. And I don't even like those scripts anymore. So like I'm gonna give them 1, not 2, not 3, not 10 million like people who haven't released their content do. 1 more rewrite, and that is going to be the show that I release, fair or foul. You know what I mean? Like if the show is good, the show is good. If the show isn't good, I tried. You know, like I know that I gave it my A game.
So real quick, just before I move us along here.
Sure.
Did you start saying fair or foul because of the Great Ace Attorney?
I said it before, but like the way that Von Zeke said it was just so like this guy does not have. So if no one knows, I voiced prosecutor Barak von Zeeks in a live dub run by Nick, and in that live dub, there was a scene there. I portray Von Zeeks like every other prosecutor in Ace Attorney. They're evil or misunderstood, but they're always trying to win at all costs. I portray that character, even though that is 100% not Von Zeeks' character. So then people, when they know that I am voice acting a line that is canonically from the game and not just goofing off, it's the real fucking deal. It really helps that character shine through with or without my performance.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and that was the one time that I could not say that Von Zieks is a cheating prosecutor like the rest of them. That was the one time I was like, man, this guy's really handing the keys of the kingdom to this Japanese man, and he is preposterously racist against Japanese people.
No, he is preposterously racist.
For as racist as he will only respect his victory against the people he is racist against if he wins fairly, which is totally cool in my book. Because,
well, the winning fairly part, not the racist part.
Not the race. Yes, precisely. Please understand that was the context I was going for.
No, I'm aware. I just needed to make sure that I clarified that, because that's like the phrase.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying for the audience. Yeah.
Oh God. But kind of moving along, since everything's been going real good. A little bit of news before we kind of talk about our new format that we're going to be going through for the show onward here. Speaking of formats, you want to know what has formats?
Word documents.
Close actually. There's just as much text on one of these as there is your average Word document. It's called the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game.
Wow.
And I know that you two are very familiar with that.
I feel like you're more familiar with that than Kai, technically.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I don't think I have as much experience in the game than you do, because like I only really started seriously
like 3 years ago.
Yeah, even then I wouldn't even say that I started seriously. It was more just like I gave the game more time.
You gave the game more like of your energy.
I decided to spend money and actually try to like play the meta game instead of just being like, I like this structure deck, I'm gonna add a couple cards that I got in packs and then just play it for fun. Like, no, it's not that anymore. It's like I run 3 of this. You only play 1 of this because it's a brick. Like actually thinking about.
Yeah, you're really thinking. You're really drilling it. You're drilling it.
I have more knowledge now, but like not for as long as you have, because I remember you've talked to me before about how you used to play tournaments back in the day.
Oh yeah, I didn't go to like a ton of tournaments, but I did play in tournament.
Yeah, he has played in locals before.
Mm-hmm. And like I made it a point to like want to run like good decks and whatnot, but that's just because I like running stuff that works. Literally, for me, any game is more fun if you play the thing that works.
Yep.
Well, you know what deck has always worked in all of Yu-Gi-Oh?
Elemental Heroes.
That's not true. There's a deck that ever since its release in 2000 and I believe 18, it has just consistently worked. And recently they were announced for having a series coming. Nick, if you'd like to explain.
Yes. So essentially, this has been kind of a weird thing going on in Japan for a while, and I really, really like it in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh! In the sense that there are multiple Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga series that are like essentially offshoots and spin-offs. It was a Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga centered around the meta of the trading card game. So you had fictional characters that were doing like real meta strategies that were portrayed in the style of what you would expect from like your modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Of like the over-the-top like battle sport kind of like anime bullshit, but with real like cards. So you'd see a motherfucker be like, ha, I solemn your synchro summon, get fucked, nerd. And it's like,
there's literally this moment where a kid who looks precisely like the villain in episode 3 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zell, that random fucking little shit, like, who I swear to God, he summons Eldritch the Golden Lord, and I'm just I'm just like, oh my God, that's kind of scary.
I think what did it for me was seeing the panel that was just saying like, oh, he's taking the Maxi challenge.
Yeah, and there was one where there was one where they were like the Maxi, and I saw, and then there's a panel where it's like a second Maxi, and they zoom in on Maxi. Like I lost my mind when I saw it. It's like, not another Maxi. Like, yeah, you lost, my dude. You lost.
Oh, these people actually run multiples in their deck and not just single cards. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, like Yusei Fudo running one effect Veiler, which he's a sack.
I mean, he's like, sack. Dude, during that whole what is it, Crashtown arc, he top decked effect Veiler 2 times in a row.
Yusei, I believe, runs more than one effect Veiler. After he finally got money from winning that writing duel tournament.
Oh,
That guy probably went and bought some structure decks.
He did that, and he's like, this is more important to me than paying the rent.
He doesn't have rent.
For real.
He lives on the streets.
Well, no, at that point, didn't they have to pay rent?
You say?
Yeah, because there was that whole
When?
Because there was the whole thing about like Jack trying to find a job and Crow getting mad at him for being like, "Why are you buying Blue Eyes white coffee? We can't afford it. Why'd you get a tailor-made suit? We can't afford it."
By then they were already in the WRG. They could afford it. Leo and Luna's parents have money.
Yeah,
Leo and Luna's parents have. They could do it. That's no big deal.
just start begging to these little kids like, "Hey, can your parents give us some money?"
Yeah, we protected you from the Aztec Inca gods.
Oh my god. But
Okay,
getting back
so,
on topic real quick, the that manga in particular that we're talking about, where it's real strategies in the manga format, is called Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG Structures. It's something I've been looking to actually read at some point, because I think that actually having a Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga actually rooted into the meta sounds hysterical, and I need that in my blood. But the thing that is actually also getting released is that they're releasing another manga spin-off where they're kind of going with something that's already been happening in Master Duel, where in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, for those that don't know, there is a single player mode that you can go into where you kind of get to like learn about the various archetypes and like what like the backstories and such are for the characters that are actually in those card archetypes. And so they're like, okay, you know what? Fuck it. Why don't we just lean hard in on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Lore? And they're making a full-on manga about the Sky Strikers, which is this deck that if you play it, I hate you.
I mean, that deck is just
Sky
play
Striker
a bunch
is the
of
most
spells.
enduring deck in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, get a bunch of
Of all
spells,
time.
have 3 engraved, you get extra effects. You make a girl, she turns into another cute girl, and then just does shit.
It's the same girl.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's the same
I mean, it's
girl.
the same girl wearing different armor. It's just
Yeah.
Infinite Stratos the deck.
Like, playing that deck is infuriating, but also, like, Ray is a big cutie. And, like, it's one of those things where, you know what? I would read a Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga series about the Sky Strikers. I can pretend it's a Gundam show, and I can kind of roll with it. But apparently the person working on it is named Shin Yoshida, who did a lot of the composition for Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Cell, 5Ds.
I think they did
all that shit.
the manga, not the anime.
Well, yeah, just like series composition in general.
Yeah.
For, like the manga. And like, I am kind of excited for this because it's one of those things where I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! Has always been one of those things of there's the anime and then there's the card game and that's it. But then there's all this like cool ancillary like secondary shit that's always really cool that's never been explored. And so I remember seeing the announcement for this a while ago and being like, yeah, I could fuck with this. I could actually fuck with this. So at some point, when I actually get around to reading it once it's out, I might just drag these two motherfuckers in a call with me, and then we just kind of read through it and see what the fuck they're even gonna do with this. So
I hate this. I hate this deck. if we never talk about this OCG stories and wait until the next one, it'd be too soon.
that's too bad. You're going to have to live with fucking Widow Anchor taking the one thing that you hold dear from you.
My
Fuck
happiness.
Widow Anchor. Before we move on to the next topic, fuck Widow Anchor. Fuck
Are you
Widow
mad at
Anchor.
Widow Anchor
Fuck that
particularly?
card.
Yeah, it's like okay, well hold on. Now I need to know what's your tier list of fuck you Sky Striker cards, because I'm thinking it's Widow Anchor, then I'm assuming Afterburners.
It's Engage Multi-Roll
yeah,
Widow
okay.
Anchor.
Yeah.
It's Engage Multi-Roll Widow Anchor. You guys are high. It's Engage Multi-Roll Hornet Drones if it was at 3 Widow Anchor.
I still just hate Widow Anchor because Widow Anchor is usually the one card that fucks up my entire deck.
How do you get it, Widow Anchor?
We're not gonna talk about this right now.
With Engage.
Listen,
Shut up.
you
There's
know
listen.
that if we're gonna talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, we're gonna talk about Yu-Gi-Oh for a while, man.
Look, here's
Yo, if
how-
we're gonna talk about Moe, why don't we talk about Moe in a video game setting?
Oh hell yeah.
so here's what I have to say.
Moe.
That's all you had to say.
Moe.
I agree. I agree.
Love how you just had that at the ready.
So for those that are only listening, I am currently holding up a flag of Santa Destroy, because I really like No More Heroes. And you want to know what else I like? I like No More Heroes 3. You know what I don't like about No More Heroes 3? The fact that it runs at a rock solid steady 12 frames per second on the Nintendo Switch. Oh,
Yeah.
that is a game that did not have the budget to really optimize the way that I would have wanted it to have been. And I love that game to death, but it has issues. And it was announced April 16th that No More Heroes 3 is going to be getting ported to fucking PC and all the modern consoles. So now you can play No More Heroes 3 at a steady goddamn frame rate, and you can see my favorite thing ever, which is Travis Touchdown having a full-on conversation with his cat that sounds like Morgan Freeman.
Cat does sound like Morgan Freeman.
I love that cat so goddamn much. Where he's just,
I
oh my god.
I have one problem with No More Heroes 3 as someone who's played it for a short period of time.
Yeah.
The audio balancing isn't very good.
Oh, it's a nightmare. It's awful.
Yeah. If the audio balancing needed to be like a lot better, personally. Besides that, I think the game is stellar. No
Oh
pun
my
intended.
God. Like that. I know when I saw the original trailer for No More Heroes 3, I think it was at the Game Awards, and that was when they were doing, you know how the game opens with that animated intro? They were showing the trailer for the fake game that was goddamn superhero, and it was showing the alien dude who's like the main antagonist, like growing up, like being from baby, and then it cuts.
Destruction Man. Destruction Man was the name of the game that was playing at the beginning of it, wasn't it?
No, it was goddamn superhero.
Mm-hmm.
It was goddamn superhero, and they were basically, it was a fake anime that they were like airing of like seeing a baby alien crash to Earth, and then
Oh yeah, at the open. I was talking about the video game that you play at the very beginning of No More Heroes 3.
No, I was
little...
I was talking about the intro part, not the fake game, but
not the cold open game.
Yeah, though that cold open game is sick. The cold open game is sick. But essentially, it gets to that point where you're like watching the alien dude grow up, and he comes back to Earth. And then it cut to Travis on the motorcycle being like, kept you waiting, huh? Or whatever. And it just cuts the title card for No More Heroes 3. And I'm like, I remember seeing that at, I believe, the Game Awards. And I did the thing that I always do when I get excited at a gaming presser event, where I run around my living room screaming at the top of my fucking lungs. And it was great. I had a good time. I have not finished No More Heroes 3 yet. At this point, I might honestly wait until the PS4 release, so that way I can actually play the game with actual fucking frame rate. But at the same time, I'm going to miss the little nods that they have to the Nintendo hardware in the Switch version. But they'll probably put something else in there for like a little, like, you know, little Easter eggy type bullshit. Because Suda loves to do that stuff. And I'll tell you right now, Suda 51 could shit in a bowl, put a bit of salt and pepper on it, put it in front of me. I would probably eat it. No joke. I worship the ground that man walks. He could literally give me shit in a bowl and I would ask for more.
That's true. A lot of people are like that too. People really love Suda.
I mean, to be fair, he gave me No More Heroes, Travis Returns, or Travis Strikes Again. And
you continued to follow his content.
Yeah, because I'll tell you right now, a lot of people are like, that game's trash. And I'm like, that game's not that bad at all. It's a fun little romp. I don't quite 100% get the hate for it. But again, this is coming from someone where Suda could literally shit in a bowl and I would eat it up. Like, that's just the kind of person I am. That's just how much I love that man's shit. Literally and figuratively, I guess, in this case. But yeah, if you haven't played No More Heroes, I really would recommend you play No More Heroes. It's kind of the most Nick core game on the planet. If you ever want to understand the inner machinations of the RedMufflerMan and how his brain works, play No More Heroes. It is a top 10 Nick RedMufflerMan work. You want to know what else is a top 10 Nick RedMufflerMan work?
Live
The
Alive?
thing that I'm about to talk about wait, what?
I said Live Alive.
Live Alive is also up there.
I
Live
figured
Alive
I'm
is
like,
also up
that's
there.
gotta be in the tier list, like for sure.
But there is another piece of media that I would say is definitely up there in the pantheon of RedMufflerMan, and that is Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, also known as Hoshi no Samidare, which managed to, I believe it was today or yesterday. It was, again, around that time. Recently, in the eyes of the beholder, they released a piece of key art for the anime, and they've revealed a whole bunch of like who the cast is going to be. And the key art for this looks absolutely insane. And this is a show that is going to be airing in July. And that's all. We don't know the exact date on when it's airing yet. There's apparently going to be an early airing sometime in July. And I am literally, we are covering that show no matter what. I don't care if I have to tie both of you down to chairs and force feed it into your eyeballs. That is going to be the anime of the year. I'm calling it now.
Hoshino Samidare.
Hoshino Samidare or Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer.
Sounds so funny. Okay.
I know nothing about this. I just know that I remember hearing that when the manga was coming out, you and a lot of the other people that were in like our like friend group were really into it.
So if you want a quick explanation just of a premise, essentially you have this dude named Yuhi. He is a misguided like 20-something who is a college student. He goes to his apartment one day and suddenly finds that his apartment has been invaded by a talking lizard who speaks of the end of times and how only Yuhi and a group of 12 others can form together as knights in order to save the world from absolute destruction. Yuhi, being of sane mind and body, does what anyone would have done and takes the lizard by the tail and throws him out of a 2-story window. From there, he and the lizard kind of work together, slowly learning like a whole bunch of like cool shonen style powers and stuff. And you end up finding out that there's like a whole bunch of demons and shit that they have to fight, like that are just like basically just going around like causing havoc and trying to kill the knights that I mentioned. From there, he meets a high school age girl named Samidare, and she is essentially the princess, the queen. That's the goal. If she dies, the knights lose. And so they're supposed to work together to stop the end of the world. Samidare is like, working to save the world is pretty nice. I don't want that, though. Do you want to just destroy the world together? And the premise is Yuhi and Samidare, who were supposed to be on the side of justice, are like, what if we used this power that we were given to actually just destroy the world instead?
Fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is such a strong premise. It's so fucking good. And like, it only goes higher from there. It never stops. It never stops going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. The stakes, you think everything's settled. You think you understand the systems. You think you know where they're going with all of this. And it's just like, no, you don't know. That's why come July, I'm strapping down everyone to watch this adaptation. If this adaptation sucks, I'll rip the cardboard off of my window and jump out. It'll be done. I don't need to live anymore after that, if that adaptation is garbage. Oh, dropping the mic.
Lot riding on that then.
I have an entire voice acting career about whether or not I'm going to be alive or not, riding on if this adaptation is good. I have faith. But, you know what? I've been let down before by adaptations, and I'm hoping that this isn't the case. And then speaking of adaptations, we have one more thing. Not much with this one, but I wanted to bring it up simply just because at this point, it's become kind of a pillar, because it's kind of where we started with this whole goddamn show. We got a new season of Demon Slayer announced.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was already announced. We basically just got like an actual proper trailer.
Yeah, we got like an actual PV. And
It's like it's like before we had like a press release, and now we have like
a more promotional, like tangible object to show people.
Yeah, exactly. And they're showing like a little bit of the animation, and there's like a cool little trick that they do in the PV that I like, where they're like timing a lot of cuts with like audio and such to the sound of one of the blacksmiths like banging down on like a steel ingot, which I thought was really cool, but I'm getting ahead of myself at that point. Essentially, they're going to be covering the Swordsman Village arc, which is going to cover what looks to be like the village of all of the Tengu dudes that actually made all of the weapons. I'm not that far in the manga, and I'm refusing to read that far in the manga because I just really like the way that Demon Slayer looks as an adaptation. And I'm like, I can wait for the story to finish in animation, and I don't think I'm going to have to wait too long.
Yeah. I think I don't know anything about it other than the fact that from what I saw of like the original announcement and like the PV and everything, it feels like we're going to get a lot more of the other water breather and the girl with like the pink and green hair. I don't remember her name, but I remember Kira Buckland plays her in English. But like that's going to be cool. Like she's going to get some time to shine.
Mitsuri Kanroji. Yeah, okay. She's the one that's like really horny for everybody.
Yeah.
She's like, I love everybody. But yeah, like, new Demon Slayer. I'm kind of hyped for that because more UFO table is always a good thing on this earth. Unless they announce the Tsukihime remake anime, and I'm not the voice of Shikitono yet. But we're going to move on from that. So now, that's like all of the news stuff that I really wanted to talk about. There wasn't much. I just kind of wanted to gush about Yu-Gi-Oh! And No More Heroes a ton.
Yeah.
And mostly just wanted to soapbox for Hoshino Samidare.
Thank you for taking me back to 2010 with that, then. Unfortunately, you made me look at modern-day spellbooks, and I will never forgive you.
All right, so here's the deal.
But I did want to get into something very important first, because I want to be the first person to say something about this. Tomodachi game fucking sucks. There's nothing you can do to change my mind. This show, the next 400 episodes of this show could be the best television ever. Those were the worst 2 episodes of anime I have seen in 10 years. Okay. I will go back to Eren. I will go back to finding out Eren is Super Hitler 100 times before I watch those episodes of Tomodachi game again. Alternatively, there was one scene that I liked, and we can get into it.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair.
It was the scene that me and my girlfriend both mutually liked. It got me through episode 2.
Which
I would not have survived episode 2 otherwise. So when the guy when their mono bear changed outfits and personalities.
Oh yeah.
Cause his voice changed to a certain pitch and like he totally changed character and it was funny. Like it was actually funny. The gag was quick and easy and done. They did it at the pace you were supposed to. There's a lot of things in the show that I feel have a pacing issue, just because they didn't spend any time introducing these characters to us. They just did like quick shots with like descriptions of the characters that you couldn't read unless you paused it. Mm-hmm. And the entire show felt like it was meant to be watched in 3 parts on YouTube.
I will say right now, at this point, let's hold off on the talk on that because we're going to be getting into that shortly. Yeah. However, I wanted to get into next a little bit of a change that we're doing.
Yeah.
All right. So now that I'm in control of the pacing again. Okay. So, like what we were kind of doing with the first couple episodes that we had of all of the shows that were airing was we were kind of going to judge what shows that we, as in all 3 of us, felt would be worth watching in some way. These aren't the best shows, potentially. We're not going to go out on a limb and say, these are the best shows this season. However, you're going to hear that from me a lot, I think, for about particular shows. But these are the shows that we think would be worth watching and worth talking about, whether that be in a good way or a bad way. And so instead of trying to like push ourselves by watching absolutely everything this season and killing Lana, because I'll tell you right now, Kai and I could probably do it. Lana has been struggling in the anime mines for the past 2 weeks, looking up at us, asking us, "Sirs, please, I'm struggling down here. Is there any more?
What do I watch? What's good? Just tell me what's good, because I don't want to spend all this time on the garbage."
Yeah, I really can't spend a lot of time on fast food bad show. Like,
Exactly.
No, I
it's
understand,
very-
like-
it's very, very emotionally taxing for me in the first place, and secondly, I don't work from home.
Exactly.
No,
exactly.
as
That's
soon
the
as
big
Nick
thing.
told me, like, oh yeah, we're gonna start dropping shows, I had a moment where I was just like, oh, I was looking at all the shows I had to watch that came out on Saturday. There were like 5 shows, and I'm like, wait, I gotta start dropping shows now? Oh. Oh, thank God I don't have to watch Love All Play anymore. I don't gotta watch Gunjou no Fanfare. Because, like, I'm gonna say it right now, Gunjou no Fanfare, absolutely the only reason why I wanted to watch that was because, like, oh, Sawano's here. It was a meme. It was a fucking meme. And then, like, the show itself, not even that good. The only thing that might get me to be like, okay, I kind of, like, care about, you know, the characters is literally if, the main guy, if he ends up being gay with Shun, that'd be the only thing that I'd care about. Otherwise, like, everything's kind of mid. The character designs are like, eh. And I don't know. It's one of those things where, yes, it's horse racing, but it's a lot of storyline that I've seen before, and it's just not done in an interesting way. The OP has some nice stuff, but, like, nothing else to talk about that show. Love All Play was just, you know, it's just mid. I just didn't
Love
care
All
about it.
Play is a show that's just inoffensive. It is the sports show that I've seen 500 times already, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to fuck with this too much.
I'll
I'm still
tell you
gonna
right
watch
now.
episode 3 though.
Yeah, I did, and it's not good. I'll tell you right now, Love All Play makes me be like, man, I don't watch a lot of sports anime. You know what I need to watch? Haikyuu. Because you
Yeah.
keep talking about Haikyuu and how good it is, and I hear everybody talking about, you know, how good Haikyuu is. It's like, well, okay, I will watch Haikyuu. I will watch Prince of Tennis, because let's face it, them redubbing all of Prince of Tennis is like, I need to.
So essentially, what I'm trying to say here is we're doing book club style stuff for everything now, where after the first 2 weeks or so of a season, we're deciding on 3 shows that we're going to keep, and then we're going to keep talking about those shows week to week. We might kind of get to talk about stuff here and there in terms of, like, oh, if we see something that, like, stands out that's, like, really unique, I might be like, hey, we're talking about this for a bit. But for the most part, we're gonna be picking about 3 shows per season and kind of going in real deep on those. And the first show that I'm wanting to talk about is Tomodachi Game.
All right, so here's the deal. I'm gonna make this really easy for everyone. Okay,
Okay.
we're gonna talk about it. We're not gonna talk about it like a lot. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
We're just gonna go one at a time, and we're just gonna talk about, like, the little things that either we liked or we didn't like, and then we just call it a day. Is that good?
That's absolutely fair.
Because there are ups to this show.
Mhm. But I will
There
say,
are.
out of the 3 shows we're doing for this, like, seasonal book club, this is the one I care about the least.
This is the worst one.
This is easily the worst one, but you know what? I still have stuff to say.
All right.
And I do too. Like, because there are things that are pretty good. Hold on, I'm trying to do a meme. Okay, it's not working. Anyway, so Tomodachi Game, when it started, I was like, okay, I just watched first 2 episodes of Spy Family with my girlfriend. They were well received. I believe they went into Spy Family, going, all right, the show, they had, like, preconceived notions about the show that, like, it wasn't going to be that good. And then at the end of it, they were proven that those preconceived notions were wrong, and the show's actually pretty decent, right?
Hold on. Your girlfriend had preconceived notions that Spy Family was going to be bad.
Yeah, I'm
Not,
genuinely surprised about that.
or unimpressive.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, like, I don't know if it was bad, but it wasn't going to be what it was, and then what it was better than I thought. Trust me, like, I thought that show would be a shit show, personally. I saw promotional material for that show, and I was like, okay, this guy sucks. And then I met the guy. Like, you don't judge a book by its cover. But that's the thing with Tomodachi Game. That one, I 100% thought that show would be awful. Okay? I was like, this is going to be like a blatant ripoff of Dangen Ronpa.
Yeah.
And I was right. Crazy. So it's a blatant, unceremonious rip off. It's not derivative. Being derivative means that you use pieces of Danganronpa that you appreciate and put them to the forefront. So then you can show that the parts of your piece that are contemporary meld with this thematic. This show, instead of doing that, just eats nuts. Okay, they introduce the characters in a very fast-paced manner to get right down to it, which I'm fine with. But then I started watching these 5 characters who are supposed to be best friends forever interact, and you know, to their credit, yeah, they did portray high schoolers who say they're going to be best friends forever properly. Because those 5 will never, ever be best friends forever. I don't think any of them will even remember each other in their sophomore year of college, if they make it that far, because this show is going out of their way to make these people look like closet serial killers. Which, I mean, that makes the show more compelling, doesn't it? No, because your protagonist, which is the only person that you're following directly, unlike in Spy Family, where you hear the internal monologue of every character because every character is a liar, because that's the gimmick.
Yeah.
Is that every character is a fucking liar, and they very much like dwell in that. They thrive in it. You know, in this show, every character's a liar. You can't hear what they're saying, except for your main character, who's blatantly the biggest piece of shit in the room, even though he's the poorest. And that's the only reason he gets away with it is because he's the poorest, which this isn't me saying anything about poor people. This is me saying something about this fucking guy. Like, so when I was watching the show, I was like, okay, this guy's pretty cool. This guy's, okay, this guy's kind of weird. This guy's kind of sus. now I don't like this guy. Oh wait, no, actually all of his friends are also pieces of shit. So like, how could he possibly be a good person? Oh wait, he found the goodness and morality in one of them. And I am almost 100% sure that girl is a serial killer. Like, I couldn't be more positive in my life, and I could be wrong. The Hinata Hyuga? The Hinata of their group?
Sawaragi Shiho is her name.
No. Kokorogi
Yutori, the short hair girl.
The sexy one. I'm the hot girl. And let's not talk about how the Enoshimas are literally watching. Junko Enoshima and her black-haired, normal-looking sister with the big titties are there. Yeah. They're sitting there literally in a computer room watching the show unfold. Well, their mono bear, who, like, at first I found him very offsetting, but then when he started doing quirky stuff that was more than just being like a 5-year-old that was quirky, when he started doing more stuff as another character in episode 2, I was like, all right, cool. So you've got variety. You're not exactly a mono bear. That guy is derivative. That guy particularly, that's a derivative spin on mono bear. You know what I mean? So I saw that, and I was like, all right, cool, like, let's do it. But the Enoshimas are like, they're not as like annoying as I always saw Junko Enoshima, but I think it's just because they haven't interacted with the cast yet, and because we were introduced to both of them in episode 1. It's not like how we were introduced to Junko in the 3rd act, like the real Junko in the third act of Dangen Ronpa. So maybe there's a little bit of like a warped perspective because this is the thing that they decided to change from Dangen Ronpa. Also, they got rid of killing for money debt, which that much yen to a child is an insurmountable amount, except for the rich kid who is also just evil but might not be. Now to their credit, to the show's credit, the facial expressions in this show and the way that they use descriptiveness during their really boring internal monologue is pretty good. Like, some of the faces are good. I'm sure if I was reading this as a manga, I would be less annoyed. But because I'm watching this like it's a bad episode of Gintama, which only kind of exists, I start getting a little bugged. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like the expressions. I like the mono bear cardboard cutout. I like he's a little bit better than a cardboard cutout because he looks like a plastic cutout. He looks like and he is a 3D model, so like they really were taking a risk with this character. Just because like 3D animation is frowned upon in a lot of places. Which, I mean, we can talk about that later with Spy Family. But it seemed fine at that point. Big down points for introducing us to the Enoshimas in episode 1, but they had to because their narrative was so shitty that they needed to start introducing characters as fast as possible for us to understand it. The show is going at the exact pace that it set itself to, It's just that pace isn't very good. And from what I've read, without fully spoiling it for myself, this show goes on for a little bit longer than this current run. So it has a lot of chances to be better, but so did Sword Art Online.
All right, I'm happy you mentioned that, actually. And now this is the part where I'm going to come in, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're talking a lot about derivatives. You're talking a lot about how this feels like a ripoff, per se. I think that the closest thing that this has in common with Dangen Ronpa is the sense that it is a battle royale game, and it has like a weird little mascot character. And I honestly think that that is where most of the similarities end. And I mean that in a good way and a bad way. In the sense that with Dangan Ronpa, there was one thing that was really strong with that narrative. It was the fact that you had a lot of time to be able to sit down with the characters, and you got to know who they were from the get-go. Because you had to, because it was a game. And they were like, okay, you got to get to know every character at least a certain amount in order for the game to make sense. With this, they're throwing us in the middle of everything. And if anything, this feels more akin to what I would expect from something like Kaiji or Squid Game or Battle Royale, especially, obviously Battle Royale. Like, it's just a Battle Royale story for a lot of this. And I feel a lot of this pacing where stuff is just happening. They're throwing a lot of characters kind of just at the wall. And they're just like, oh, okay, these are who these characters are. These are who these characters are. These are who these characters are. I think that they're doing that intentionally because I feel like it's not honestly going to matter that much once we get past this first core. Because the two girls that were up in like the computer room, the Enoshimas, essentially.
Yeah. One of them literally looks like Junko, and one of them looks like Junko's sister.
Oh my
That's
God.
the reason that I say that. If they weren't so blatant about it, it wouldn't be. I wouldn't be as mad. You know,
See, they don't even look like Junko to me. They just have twin tails.
They're like a sassy lost child version of Junko Enoshima, and the other one is literally Junko's sister.
That just feels way too harsh to me. I don't know. Because people have twin tails. But I digress. Continuing on. Oh, God. I think that a lot of it's not going to matter because they're setting up another narrative that this is a lot bigger than what is currently being shown in the small scale of what this debt game is. And I think what's going to end up happening is as it progresses, the actual like characters' pasts are not going to matter as much once we get past this smaller scale game and when other groups of people start getting brought in, because they've already mentioned, oh, there are groups, and this is like a big broadcasted thing, because for those that don't know,
they're group C, right?
yeah, they were like
Third one.
group C, and like only one other group had managed to get past the first game in Tomodachi game. And essentially, I think that they're going to be building on that. However, they're not telling you a lot of that. They're only letting you imply a lot of that. And that really sucks when you're getting all of this shit that you have to imply along with all of the details from these characters' lives from before the game started. And you're getting all of this at such a breakneck pace that it gets a little difficult to kind of like really get it all down, in the sense that I do believe this would be something that would be easier to understand and parse as a manga. However, I think it's one of those things where because of the pacing, they're trying to get through shit in the early sections as fast as they can. And it is definitely hurting it. However, I feel like going all the way, being like, this is a ripoff of Dangan Ronpa, has vibes of, like, I have watched Dangan Ronpa. What other Battle Royale things have you watched? What other gambling shit have you watched, out of curiosity, Lana?
Me personally?
Yes.
A lot of those, like, none of the ones that are like death game personality kind of stuff. I saw Squid Game, but like I never saw like any of those death game kind of things. Like all the other like reality kind of I've seen a lot of reality TV that does things like this. I've seen a lot of those like X game like obstacle course kind of things. But when I see something, when I see a I don't look a dead horse in the mouth for most things like this. You know what I mean? When I see something that looks like exactly the same, and it's very obvious that this is like supposed to be like the PG insert of a death game, version of things. It's just like, oh, okay, like, so they're hosting the Squid Game method, but with the Dangen Ronpa like spin to it, with the way that the characters are, because these 5 characters that are like the main characters of the show are like 5 very distinct grouped stereotype characters that you would use for like a generic like friendship slice of life anime. And I like that they're thrown into a whack circumstance. I do appreciate that. That's why I put it on my list of things I was interested in watching. I just and that's why I wanted to give it a chance to not be a shit show. It's just like, okay, so why don't we talk about the things that aren't Danganronpa related that like I thought was kind of weird. The characters don't act like they're friends. That's something that's something that really just pisses me off. I only said that once, but like whenever one of these characters says something to the other, the only time they act like they're friends is when it's a flashback done by Yuichi. And that's because Yuichi is the one who's supposed to be just betrayed by the fact that any of this is happening, when he put all of his faith in these people's like ability to be his friends, his ability to trust those people. Now, Yuichi's my least favorite character. And that's just because I don't like his personality. I think he's bipolar, and but he's like bipolar in like a way that like you don't want to portray in media. I get a little confused whenever he reacts a certain way, and then I'm supposed to believe in his moral goodness, and then the ending shows like blood on his face with an evil grin.
See, here's the thing. I don't think you're supposed to believe in his morals at all. I think the show from the outset is trying to frame to you, this dude's a bad person by like his nature. However, he goes out of his way to try to be a good person.
For exactly these people.
For exactly the people that he cares about, he goes out of his way to be a good person, is how I'm kind of reading this character. And that's why I think there's more to the show than these first 2 dog shit episodes. Because, oh my god, nothing of real note happens other than Sawaragi gets shit on constantly, and Tenji's just like, yeah, she's my ex, and I'm really mad. Also, Sawaragi likes Yuichi, and there's like a weird love rectangle pentagon going on where every single character is horny for another character, and it's just like, they're teenagers.
Yeah, they also just introduced this this whole real like bad part of Legend of Korra vibe to like the character that group's friendship dynamic.
Yeah,
and it's just like, hey, why not before we start dropping? Okay, so here they could have avoided having to do all of this exposition at this stage of episode 2 if they just used a different game. You know, like all they had to do was use a different game, or like find another way to use the games. Now I understand that like they're trying to make these guys fight in or between each other because like that's what you're supposed to do. But like these people in the computer room are literally explaining, yeah, that shouldn't break their friendship. That should just make them a little uneasy, and then it breaks their friendship in fucking pieces. Like,
well, yeah, so they're dumb teenagers.
Like, yeah, I know.
We also don't know what was written on those postcards. Is also the real thing. We only got to see Yuichi's, where it was, oh hey, Kokorogi is going to get fucked over with debt. So it's like they are blatantly putting a ton of information down, but so much of that information is hidden to where it's difficult to get a real read on what everyone was doing. Because for all they know, it could have said, if you hit yes for the first one, everyone gets to leave and no one has any debt or something like that. Like, for all we know, those cards could have literally just said, if you say yes, Elon Musk will suck your dick. For all we know. And like legitimately, that is one thing that I do like about this show, is they're throwing you just in the middle of everything and you're not getting given any real information, which also leads to you getting frustrated, I feel.
Right. I feel like I could give the show so much more credit if I knew anything about these people. Like just like even on a base level.
Yeah. I think that it's definitely going to talk about these characters past and, more about them as people, like, later on. It feels like the kind of thing where they're going to, like, throw in little tidbits of information just in the middle of a game, or at least, like, in this particular game that they're in now, where it's, like, the board game setting and they're, like, moving spaces. I think that's exactly what they're going to use this game for. It's going to be them talking about their past. It's going to talk about a little bit about these characters so you understand what their thought processes are like. And just learning them through that. Although if you don't mind me actually interjecting and saying what I think about Tomodachi game, because unlike you guys, I haven't seen Kaiji, I haven't seen Squid Game, I haven't seen Battle Royale, I haven't seen a lot of these stuff. So the only thing, like, going into Tomo game, the one thing I always saw on Twitter, and just anybody's opinions that I saw, was everyone was saying this is Dangen Ronpa but worse. So I'm on that end. I am on Lana's side of, like, the little bits that I know about Dangan Ronpa. Yeah, no, I can see it. I can absolutely see it. It is just that.
Yuichi just isn't Naigi. Like that's such a problem for me, I guess. And I don't even like Naigi that much. Like,
God, I'm sorry. I have to say something. I'm hearing this argument, and you want to know what this is making me think? It's making me think of those people that have only ever seen, like, Steven Universe, and then they watch any other cartoon, and they're just like, wow, this is giving me big Steven Universe vibes.
Okay. No, I understand that. I don't think that's what this is. I think it is, like, what you said, of they are making the connection because they are all, like, Battle Royale death games. That is the common denominator between all of these, like, properties. I think that, like, the actual story in and of itself and what is foreshadowed through the opening, which, by the way, that opening, I remember I saw that opening in episode 2, and I messaged Nick and I said, this is a Nick opening. I need to know, was I right?
Opening.
Was I right?
It is a Nick opening. That OP slaps.
The OP's really good, but there was another OP I watched that night that just blew it out of the water.
I mean, Spy Families?
Yeah, and I think that I think the ED is better.
Yeah.
The ED helped me, like, kind of wash my hands of the episode. Because episode 2 was a bloodbath bad.
Oh yeah.
Episode 2 is, like, so far just one of the worst things I've seen this season. I'm gonna go to bat for this show a lot because I think conceptually and thematically there's a lot going on here. I think it's just frustrating the way it's set up for a lot of people. However, that second episode sucked. Almost nothing happened.
Nothing happened, and they all gained, like, a couple 100,000 in debt. That's something that happened. And then
that's pretty rough.
And then they all said, "You're gonna leave the card blank, right?" And they all nodded yes in agreement, like friends. And then 3 of them lied. And I swear on my days as a person, one of those was Yuichi.
Oh, 100% Yuichi was one of them.
And that's the funny thing, because we're listening to this internal monologue where he's saying everyone's going to put in a blank one. And then he definitely didn't. Like, so if we could listen to even another person, one other person, for one episode and one episode only, I would change my mind about this show completely if they had one thing interesting to say. That's it.
But then you lose the mystery of everything.
Yeah, but I think it's like, with that mystery, not showing everybody's thoughts. Lana's saying, give us one more person so we have more puzzle pieces.
Give us another person who, like, is suffering right now. Okay, so this is the last point. The last 10 seconds of episode 2, I was sitting there like, what the fuck is happening? And
no, yeah, those last 10 seconds, because I remember the last 10 seconds where it's like, what was it? Kokorogi was, like, talking to Shiho, and then she just gets on her knees and starts screaming, and the episode cuts.
Yeah, she just starts screaming Rena Higurashi style, and I'm just like, oh my
what
god,
happened?
What the
like, it's
fuck?
so baffling.
And
it's so baffling.
And it went on for such an incredibly long amount of time. So I was just like, oh my god, could we? What the hell? The credits? The credits are rolling? So, and I was like, okay. And then I watched the ED and I was like, okay, that show was awful. That was awful. I'm going to watch episode 3, but, like, Oh man, dude, that was.
Oh, you're watching more than episode 3. We've committed for this to be a book club show, so you got it. Good or bad,
I'm gonna be making
fair or foul.
I'm gonna be making arguments to get this show off the list. I'm gonna find something else. I'll watch every episode of every anime Kai has ever watched in his life if I can find a fucking replacement. I'll watch Dragon Maid 2.
No. Well, Dragon Maid 2 is good.
Good.
But,
Dragon Maid 2's good.
No, my argument was because I talked about this before off off the podcast, but like I want us to watch Magic Knight Rayearth because I fucking love that show and there's so much goddamn like quirks in it. But like if we're cutting Tomodachi Game, if we're gonna do a show that's old, Magic Knight Rayearth, and we're doing a show that's currently airing, I want to talk about fucking Birdie Wing, man. That shit's good.
Birdie Wing is good.
Birdie Wing's amazing.
Can we get like a palate cleanser like Yu Yu Hakusho English dub? Like it's on.
Oh,
it's all on
you know
Hulu.
What? I'd be down for that because I haven't seen all of Yu Yu Hakusho. My only knowledge of Yu Yu Hakusho is I think I watched maybe the first 3 episodes, and I owned the Game Boy Advance game.
I love that game. Which
great.
The strategy game or the regular game? The RPG.
The regular game.
The regular game.
The RPG.
I love Spirit Detective.
Yeah.
There's a walk around JRPG of Yu Yu Hakusho made in America for the Game Boy Advanced called Yu Yu Hakusho Spirit Detective. That game does not suck. That game is a great Game Boy Advance game.
That game is
garbage. Have you ever kited Toguro for 30 minutes? I don't think so. Oh my. you ever kited Toguro? How do you hit him with Kuwabara without losing 90% of your health because he's on your ass? How do you kill Rando chasing you while 8 Suzakus are shooting you?
You're messy. I'm trying to kite the boss. Nothing's working.
I spirit kicked him in the butt and then I ran away. You're messy.
Oh man, if I can go on a tangent for a second, just talking about like anime adaptation video games. Lana is talking about this game the way I would talk about Naruto Path of the Ninja for the Nintendo DS.
That game's not even that bad though.
It's not as bad as Uzumaki Chronicles or Pokemon Troze.
Yeah.
Like it's not one of those. As long as you're not like a mid puzzle game or like unplayable, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of unplayable, you're passable as a handheld video game adaptation, I feel.
Which
I still think that the Yu Yu Hakusho Spirit Detective game sucks, mostly because the Shaman King Castlevania games exist, and those are the best.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's the thing. I think it's because those games exist that you're like, yeah, no, it's bad.
Yeah, because I have standards.
I think that the stigma of anime adaptation in video games definitely in most recent years they have kind of hit that area of they're good. Like I feel like majority of like anime games that are coming out now, Sans Jump Force, like they're good.
The Jump Force is good in a way.
The game's fine. It's not a fighting game though.
Yeah,
Jump Force is a game that you play if you want to see Frieza slowly levitating up into the clouds.
That's true.
If you want to see Dio for 11 minutes and then never again.
Yeah.
So we finished talking about Tomodachi Game, and we got into video games because of it. There are 2 other shows on the docket for us before we get to Jujutsu Kaisen. Nick, you want to talk about your actual favorite anime of all time?
It is not my favorite anime of all time. However, it is like maybe my second or third favorite show this season. I have a lot of favorite shows this season. There's a lot. But it is a show that we haven't even actually talked about on here yet, because I didn't get to it until literally 2 days ago. It is ya boy Kongming, and
that really is the name of the show, too.
Love it.
It's the localized name. I believe the actual Japanese name is like, yes, Paripi Kome is the Japanese name. However, it has been localized by Sentai as ya boy Kongming. And in general, the premise of this show is incredible. It is, you have Kongming, who is this general during the Chinese era of the Three Kingdoms War, and he's on his deathbed, and he's full of regret that because he is dying, he is not going to be able to help his lord take over and unite all of China. So he dies and then wakes up in the middle of fucking Shibuya and he's like, "Oh, it appears that I'm in hell." And he's just walking around on Halloween night and he starts
everyone's
partying,
partying in the street.
Yep.
So they're all partying in the street, and he thinks he's in purgatory, and everyone's like, "Yo, that guy's cosplaying Kongming. That's so good. This guy did a lot of research for his cosplay of Kongming." And he's like, "Oh no, it's a purgatory guard." And then they pour a bottle of tequila down his throat, and he goes, "It's the taste of hell." and then he's drunk, and they're like, "Come to the rave with us, Kongming. Everyone be careful of Kongming. He's a cool guy." And they're in the 109 building, or it's the 104. It's 105 in real life, I believe.
They don't go into that building. They go into a club.
Yeah.
And then into a club near the building.
Yeah, it's the BB club.
So, Kongming, sees this girl and like she's performing and he's like, "Whoa, that girl's awesome. Maybe purgatory is not that bad. I think I'm good with being a hell guy. I'm a hell guy now." and he gets fucking destroyed, and she takes him to get to sober up. And he's like, "You're the songstress of purgatory," and he's like, "I'm not. We're alive.
Yeah,
we're alive.
You kind of skipped
fine.
over her taking him a way to sober up. What happened was they leave the club. He's passed out, fucking pissed drunk in an alley. She finds him. She's like, "Oh, why am I? I'm a good person." So she just takes him and brings him back to her place. It's fucking great. But honestly, dude, gonna be honest, if I was in that situation and I saw Eiko singing like that, I'd be like that too. Like, fuck, I'd be a hell guy.
Yeah, you know what? Hell is just fine if I get to hear these dope tunes. Which the funny thing is, he walks into that club immediately, and he's being blasted by really obnoxiously loud, bassy EDM, and he's just like, "What the fuck is this?" He's literally just a grandpa.
What is this magic?
Yeah.
He thinks he's every single time he does the stereotypical I'm in the future, so this must be wizardry kind of thing. So I've only watched episode 1 and read chapter 1 of Kongming as of right now.
Yes.
So all I know is that Kongming is hopelessly unable to understand the cultural difference between modern Japan and his era of China. But they do go, I didn't notice it before now, but I am speaking fluent Japanese. How did I do that?
Yeah, how do I know?
Oh, and I can read Japanese too. This is wild. And then from there, Eiko, which is the name of the girl, is like, "Well, I mean, if you don't have any place to go or anything, I guess I can teach you to use a smartphone and shit." And so, she spends the next 4 hours teaching Kongming how to use a smartphone and use technology. And after the 4 hours, he looks up to Eiko, and, it's she has to go in for her shift. But it cuts to him saying the line, "Eiko, what in the world is the blockchain?" And I'm like...
Yeah, I mean, even she at that point was like, please stop asking me these questions.
In the manga, it's very funny because he goes, "My lady, I have a question. How would this blockchain be something that you create?" And it's
how do you create
wow.
the blockchain?
Yeah, it's like, wow, Kongming actually asked the realest question ever. That very, very good guy.
Oh my god. Talk about the Bored Ape warlords over here.
He pulls himself up on Wikipedia. So now he knows how to look himself up. That's kind of neat.
He's an influencer now.
He's very sad that Shu fell. So there's a lot of so he did get to see some of his own history, and this girl really did uplift him just by playing music and getting ready for work, So he still wants a world of peace. That hasn't changed. So he kind of started to take this as like his second chance, you know?
As you should, because it's one of these things where it's like, oh, I died. I'm not dead anymore. You know what? Let's not do the weird isekai thing of stealing people's panties and trying to become the hero. How's about we actually try to do something to make a difference, even if being the difference means becoming someone's idol manager. But we'll get to that in a moment. Essentially, it gets to a point where Eiko comes back from her job and he's just kind of vibing. And then Kongming is like, hey, could you help me find a job? And she's like, what do you mean you're unemployed? And so she takes him to the bar that she works at. And this is like the peak of episode 1 for me, where he's sitting down with the boss. And the boss is like, why are you dressed like that? Well, because I'm Kongming. Oh, are you really Kongming? And he starts babbling about, it was a very particular battle that happened in the Three Kingdoms period. And he's like, why exactly did you sacrifice this man just for that city to fall? And Kongming starts like waxing poetic about what he thought of the man that he left at that outpost, how he felt when the outpost fell, how he felt when the man lost his life for everything, and how he feels he had like erred. And he was like going about everything 100%, no selling it. And both of them just start crying. And it turns out that the owner of the bar is actually just a huge fucking nerd that loves the story of the Three Kingdoms. And he's like, I love this guy. You're fucking hired.
No, it's
What
great.
a role.
Like, there's a scene after that where Komi's just talking to Eiko while like she's teaching him how to do all of these like drink mixes. So he's like a bartender at that point. And he's making these drinks super fast. Like he's like, oh, this is nothing. Like making tea is harder than this. And, but like as he's just kind of talking to her, I think at one point he just mentioned something from his past, and then the manager just zooms in like, y'all talking about Three Kingdoms? Like he's such a nerd. It's great.
Motherfucker is over here just being like, can I tell you all about Homestuck?
Oh my god.
Oh fuck. But like there's also one cut in particular when he's making a drink. Eiko says some like really heavy shit, and then she goes on to like play on stage, and it's just a really subtle cut where she's got kind of depressed, she's walking away, a guy walks up to Kongming and he's like, hey, can I get a drink? And then like literally halfway through him delivering it, Kongming is immediately just like, boom, drink's done. And it just cuts to the next scene. But it was just a small little scene of just being like, here's the drink. Stop talking to me.
No, he makes bartending look so easy when it like it.
Oh, fuck. No, he's a genius. He's a prodigy.
Yeah, I think after that is the part where like the episode's nearing its end. He basically suggests to Eiko like, listen, I know you want to be, this singer, this idol, and like have people like hear your songs and everything. But at that point, I think she only has like one or it was like 200 followers.
209, I believe, is the number.
Yeah,
but he goes along the lines of, now you have only but a small following, but with me at your side, you will have a following of thousands, 10,000s, even a following of 100 million can be within your reach. You are a shining star. You have but one fan right now in me, but together, I can make your star shine brighter than any of those in the heavens. And like he goes on this huge spiel, waxing poetic, and in translator's note, I want to be your manager is essentially what he ends up saying.
That's what he means. But like he very much like wants to like stick with the idea of like, please allow me to be your tactician. Like that's what he's like. No, I am your tactician. That's who I am.
Yes, and it's so good. And like Eiko all the while is like crying her eyes out because she's been in this position of she's been wanting to be a singer for a very, very long time. And a bit of her backstory was in high school. She had gone through a lot of shit, just like all of us. And she almost throws herself in front of a train because she's just like, I don't want to deal with it anymore. The boss of the bar saves her, takes her to the bar to see a musical performance, and it inspires her to want to become a singer. She's been rejected from like every single audition. No one will give her a gig. No one is giving her a chance to shine. And then here comes Kongming being like, look, I know things have been bad. Let's try some shit. And if you're someone like Eiko, who has just been told no for the past several years of you trying, it's one of those points of, if someone just tells you that they're just going to try something, at that point, you're like, hey, fuck it. What am I got to lose? And so she's like, yeah, screw it. You're kind of nutty. You're nuttier than a fruitcake. But you know what? I'll take that bet. And then that basically cuts episode 1. And then we get episode 2, which, Lana, you have not seen episode 2?
No.
I was going to ask about that. Like, do you want to go over the episodes 2 and 3 if Lana hasn't seen them yet? Like, I feel like we should just kind of tack those on to next week.
In that case, I might tack that on to next week, but there is one thing I want to mention before that.
The only reason that I wasn't able to watch them is because it was already reaching like 3 a.m, and I was already watching these on like a laggy setup, so I was just like, so I'd already seen like what was going on in the first episode, and I was like, this is a really good show. I will watch this show, and like you did convince me last week. I am gonna watch this show. It's just bad luck. So
bad luck.
No, I'm gonna go through this when I go through episode 3 of Spy Family, which I don't have to go through.
Which, real quick before we move on, then, is in episode 2, and we're gonna be talking about episode 2, 3, and 4 next week. It's gonna be the marathon. There is one thing that happens that is dubbed the stratagem of the Stone Sentinel Maze.
Oh yeah,
and it is by far the funniest fucking thing I have ever seen in the way that they take his stratagems and adapt them towards musical theater, essentially, towards musical performance it's so fucking funny.
No, it's fantastic. Like, just to go into it a little bit, like it gets to the point where he's planning this out, and then like he requests of the manager to be like, "Can you give me the blueprints of the building we're going to be like performing at?" And then he basically, like, without getting too much into it and spoiling it, he basically like manipulates the room and the feng shui in a way that makes it so once people enter the room to see Eiko, they can't fucking leave.
Oh,
so they're just forced to like, oh no, she's good. I will stay for this.
But yeah, we'll definitely get to touch more on that next week. We have finally hit a point now where everything's going to be organized and everything's coming up Millhouse. So I'm real happy about that. Kongming right now this is such a show. I am so happy that I actually decided to sit down and watch it. And then the one other thing I wanted to bring up before the end is the ED is this really old Japanese pop song from like 15 or 20 years ago that I heard way back in high school. So this song comes on and it's just like something activated. Nick activated. A spark happened in my brain and I thought I was going to cry. And like and this is a show that just kind of shows how powerful music can be.
Oh, I know the singer.
Yeah. I was gonna say I went and did a little bit of research on that song because I was curious of like the older versions. Was the song in Elite Beat Agents?
It was not in Elite Beat Agents. It was in Oendon.
It was in Oendon.
Okay.
Oendon 1.
And that's where I heard it.
This was in Oendon 1. Yep.
Wow. Come on, say yeah.
It just changed.
Yeah. I mean, like even the intro.
Changed.
Yeah. Although I will say, like, because
Kai, do you know what song? Do you know what song is the final boss of Oendon 1?
No.
Ready, Steady, Go.
Yeah. Wait, from Full Metal? Oh,
it's a really shitty cover of Ready, Steady, Go.
Yeah, it is a shitty cover of Ready, Steady, Go, but it's a cover of Ready, Steady, Go nonetheless.
Oh boy.
I was gonna mention boss.
Yeah, I was gonna mention very briefly though, because like this is also present in the intro. The intro is a remix of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
It's so good.
Okay, I see.
Oh my god. Yeah, this is a show that feels like a celebration of music in a way that isn't the same as like a lot of the idol shows I feel that you see a lot of the time, where a lot of idol shows definitely feel very produced. They feel very designed by committee. And it's like, oh, you're hearing all of this original music. You're hearing all of these musical performances. They're all really good. I like a lot of idol shows. but this feels almost like countercultural in the sense of if an idol show is meant to be like your Mickey Mouse corporate bullshit in like the 90s, then this show feels like The Simpsons, but for musical idol shows. It, you know, before The Simpsons became a shell of its former self. But counterculture, you get what I mean.
The Flanderization of The Simpsons.
Oh boy, I was gonna say, like, are you about to bring up zombie Simpsons? Are we really having this conversation?
Zombie Simpsons.
Look, I am not going to bring up the power of Super Eye Patch Wolf here. Not now.
Okay, so if Spy Family gets any better, we have to move the Jujutsu Kaisen book club out of the main event of the show.
Really?
Because the episodes are able to adapt up to about chapter 15 accurately, then it might have to switch with Jujutsu Kaisen solely out of the principle that we should be making the main event out of a main event show that is currently running. You know what I mean?
No, I agree.
Like, because that also means that our show has a high spot in Jujutsu Kaisen in the middle. I'm sorry, I book WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Every time I book a thing, it's supposed to look like a WrestleMania. All I have to say about episode 2 of Spy Family is they knew what the fuck they were doing.
Oh yeah.
They made Yor Forger be called Mama. That woman. That woman is an incredible woman.
I think what got me, because, you know, like, you guys read the manga, I haven't. When I had to sit there and be like, she's 27?
27 years old. She's my age.
Yeah, she's like my age. Like, what the hell?
She is exactly my age. Holy crap.
Guys, I wish Yor Forger was my mom.
Yeah, I wish Yor Forger was my mom, too.
God, imagine how much easier high school would have been if someone eliminated, assassinated, destroyed all of your bullies and also the homeroom teacher.
I will say that the funniest thing in the scene where she's gone to the party with the coworkers and they're all talking shit about her, like, while she's just sitting there in the corner, and then she's just sitting there like, I could kill everyone in this room.
And no one would find out.
Yeah,
and it's like,
no one would know.
And it's like, aren't you currently having a conundrum with, like, your brother finding out about anything that happens at this party? You're losing your mind over there. So,
yeah, it's like, because if you kill everyone, you got to kill Dominic, and then he's gonna be like, "Where'd Dominic go?
Where'd my friend Dominic go? The last he was seen was at the party that I heard you were going to. What happened at that party? You're the only person alive at that party, my sister. You know, unfortunately, I shouldn't say this, but Yuri would believe her.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
but I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
So without pushing any farther than what happens in episode 2, So in episode 1, they found out that they need a wife to enter the secondary interview to get into the academy for Twilight's mission, and unfortunately, Mama doesn't exist according to the after credits of Spy Family. Please note there are after credits to this show and Jujutsu Kaisen for anyone who isn't checking. Unfortunately, Marvel Studios got their win. So if you look at episode 2. We're introduced to this one lady who's very to herself, and, like, she's 27 years old, and apparently people are being outed as, like, spies a lot. This is when they start talking a little bit, like, very, very lightly about the corruption in the government of our setting. The setting is an extremely imperialist state, or city-state. All we know is that it's called, like, the East. And we know the name of the city, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's a very complicated name for me. I'm very bad at enunciation. So I'm just going to say this is the Eastern State, because the Western State is where Twilight comes from. In this Eastern State, it's a very... they want to get ahead, and so apparently people have been either false or truthfully, like, just tattling on people, like snitching on people about being, like, spies or prostitutes or killers in some way. And people are getting really nervous about that. So Yor is being told by her friends, like, hey, do you have anyone? And she's like, yeah, you know, like a liar. And so they're like, hey, we're having a party. You should bring your boyfriend. Bye. Because these people are, like, actively trying to sabotage her for reasons. Whatever those reasons are, they're probably just catty things. And the country's got a culture, so whatever. Like let's just suspend our disbelief on that.
Ooh, this person is pretty, but also different. Ooh, they're competition. I gotta get rid of them.
Yeah, and that comes to full
Ooh.
circle at the end of the episode. So that storyline, let's put a pin in it, just like the show did. And we find out that Yor loves talking to her brother. They have a great relationship. And this is all we know about the person. So they're like, "Oh, you're going to a party? Well, my friend's there, and they're gonna tell me everything about the party. So hope your guy's cool. Bye." And so she's like, "Fuck, what do I do?"
Fuck.
And then she gets another phone call. She's like, "Wait, Yuri, it's..." And then they're like, wow, Yor, you're having some problems, huh?" And they're like,
Having a spat with your
and
brother.
and she's like, "Hello, how can I help you?" And then they're like, "We have a new assignment for you." And then all of a sudden, she's on the 10th floor of a reserved floor of a hotel, and she's just, and they're like,
Hold up. I have to stop you for just a second.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Because the moment that the shopkeeper, as he is called,
yeah,
says, "I have some business for you," you cut to what is easily my favorite thing about this character from this episode. The shopkeeper is like, "Oh yes, Yor, I have some work for you." Her eyes half close. All of like the saturation leaves her eyes, and then a dark shadow goes over her face, and she looks positively like a snake person. She looks absolutely inhuman. You see the switch, and like visually, the way it looks so fucking menacing. Oh my god.
No, it's a great way to introduce her character.
now,
But
Yeah, like they nailed the introduction of Yor Forger like easy.
Mhm.
or as she's called right now, Yor Briar.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the scene after that is her getting off of an elevator on a reserved floor, and the men who are standing there are like, "Hey, who called a woman? Ma'am, this is a reserved thing." And she's like, "Oh, is it? Well, then why are you keeping somebody who has committed crimes against the state held protected here?" And then she like kicks some dudes through like walls and just fucking obliterates these dudes with her needles. And then they're like, "Who the fuck's at the door?" And they open it, and it's like, "It's the Thorn Princess," or the Thorn Queen. And
No,
I'm
it's the
just
Thorn
like,
Princess. Yeah, it's
the Thorn Princess. And I'm, well, if it was the Thorn Queen, it'd be a Homestuck song. And so there, and she's like, "Excuse me, sir, but would you give me permission to kill you?" Like, and then she kills everyone there, almost
effortlessly.
effortlessly, without a fucking issue. And
Well,
then she,
one issue.
and then she just,
She ripped her
yeah,
dress.
and then she tore her dress once, and she's washing her hands at the sink. And and in the manga, they didn't say this in the anime. In the manga, she just looks at her hands and goes, "They still smell." And then she notices that her dress is torn, and she's like, "Aw, shit. That was my only dress that looks nice. Now I'm gonna look like a bitch at the party." and then she leaves, and we cut scene to Twilight.
And then we cut the scene to Twilight, and the first thing we see is the most beautiful person I have ever seen. Wonderful dress, perfectly executed makeup. Who is wearing all of this? None other than Frankie. Our man in the afro, the man with the knowledge, where he has that afro because the brain is stored up in there. And he's over here being like, why am I having to be dressed like this? This isn't gonna work. And then Anya talks to him being like, "I do not accept this, mother." And I'm over here just like, every time Anya speaks, it is glorious because she just says the most fucked up shit.
She's just
which
blunt.
makes sense because she's a child.
She's just blunt. It's great.
She can also read their minds, so she knows exactly what she's like. She knows more context than they do, so anything that she says to them will just sound like bullshit. Because it's like,
Yeah, really.
because it's like, you don't know what the fuck I'm thinking. What are you, a mind reader? And then she's like, yeah.
Yeah, for real.
I am.
Yeah, didn't you know I'm a new type?
Now,
On God?
now I am. Now she is probably 4. Like
She is probably 4,
Yeah,
but on God, like, it don't matter.
no.
But so Twilight, Mr. Lloyd Forger is like, okay, dressing up Frankie, even with me and my power of over disguise, everything that I know, some people are a lost cause. So he scraps the idea of Frankie portrayed as his wife and has Frankie get files of every single woman in the entirety of Estonia? Yeah, Estonia. And essentially, you get this huge stack of papers, and the way Frankie puts it is like, so you're looking for someone with a clean past and desperate enough to marry you in 48 hours. And they're single. You got your work cut out for you, fella. So he's frustrated. He takes Anya to the dry cleaners to get some shit done. And is just kind of shooting the shit with people. Kind of getting a glance of all of the people that are working there. When all of a sudden, he notices someone behind him. And he's like, wait, how did this person get behind me? I should have felt them there. I normally know where everyone is at any point. What? And so he takes like really quick furtive glances. The person he's looking at is Yor. And then he quickly darts his eyes away. And Yor is just like, excuse me, sir. Are you staring at me? And he's like, I'm staring at you because you are absolutely beautiful. And I could not take my eyes off of you.
This
And-
scene is another great example of Twilight being able to multitask while he is thinking out an entire thought. And that is,
Yeah.
and I think that's one thing that really like Anya talks about a lot is like, damn, he's clean.
He's so clean.
He's so incredibly clean. He shouldn't be this clean. He's spotless. Like the entire time he's still thinking about how the fuck did this woman move faster than the speed of light? Oh, I know her name, address, phone number, eye color, and her upbringing. She's a clean criminal record. How she's so slick. And then she catches him and he's like, fuck. Okay. This is a good lie. Got it. And he executes it perfectly and he's like, well, if I keep this straight, we should be good. Wait a minute. She's actually hot. Oh my God. and then it's like, I really don't know. Don't think she's interesting that she's backing off. And Anya's like, oh fuck. And then Yor is like, oh no, they must have a wife. I really don't want to have to kill his wife. That sounds shitty. And she's like, kill his wife, an assassin. And then she's like, wow, I get to pick a spy and an assassin on this run. This is the best orphanage life ever.
Yes, he's literally like, waku waku, and her eyes start sparkling, and then the narrator kicks in being like, Anya's really starved for entertainment.
Yeah. No, then she just starts like going off like, oh, woe is me. I miss a mother. I wish to have a mother. And then it's like, oh, you're not married? It's like, damn, she really got it going there.
Anya pulled the trigger on the smartest decision that has ever happened. Like,
Yes!
just absolute genius of a child using out of character knowledge to metagame their parent life.
She's going to be terrifying once she's like 10. Like, once she kind of realizes how everything goes. Because you know she's going to grow an accelerated rate in terms of emotional intelligence. Or she's going to be dumb as a rock, one of the two. Or dead. That's a third option, but I don't want that option.
I think one of the things that this is a good thing and a bad thing about Anya. It's a good thing that Anya uses out of character knowledge to progress the narrative. The bad thing is I get this vibe from Anya sometimes, kind of like Pan from Dragon Ball GT, where she only exists to be like a nuisance when the narrative needs her to be a nuisance, so then things can happen. Which is precisely how episode 1 went down. But like that was episode 1, so it can be forgiven, and we're still on episode 2. And as I've been reading the manga, it doesn't feel as bad in the manga. So hopefully the anime adaptation is able to hit those notes properly with Anya Forger. Because like I could see fans getting like tired of it. You know what I mean? Even though she's like a kid, it's just like, does the writer really not have another way to increase tension? So it's
this is a good point you brought up. Actually, I apologize.
It's fine. It's just a nitpick that I had when I started reading it, because there's a lot of Anya centric episodes, because eventually, you know, she's getting into school, right? so eventually Twilight and Yor are just not there, so we have to meet other characters eventually, unless Anya is just the bullied kid. It's definitely something that can come up now that we can hear Anya. And I'm not saying that she sounds annoying, but there could be people who are like that, you know? Or people who think that way, or like she could get annoying if it becomes problematic, but it's not like problematic yet. So now they've made like the date, you know? One of them staying for the interview, and one of them staying for the party. One of them is a little bit easier, but it's a little bit sooner. And unfortunately, Twilight gets a message that he has another mission that he has to do alongside this one, and it's at around the same time as the party. And unfortunately, no one in this show has cell phones, because, you know, and they didn't give each other phone numbers to exchange. They just said where they'd meet, which kind of blows, because, you know, if Twilight just told Yor what was going on, or like not what was going on, but that he'd take a little bit to get there, then they probably would have avoided that whole character arc at the end of the episode.
Well, to say one thing here, it is implied that this is taking place in the 20th century.
Yeah. Well, they had
so
phones.
Like cell phones or anything. Cell phones, definitely not. Normal phones, you could definitely swing it. But I'm pretty sure Twilight's the type of person who would be very, very hesitant to hand out his phone number.
Yeah, because he already had to move houses once.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, that's fair. So Mr. Lloyd Forger just didn't give out a number and said he'd meet her, which kind of sucks, because it looks really shitty when he stands the girl up. But like, so he has to. So he convinces his friend to go on this like reverse gem heist, because they're stealing gems and art from people who are stealing gems and art.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it. But they get a little damaged. Twilight gets in like gets a little shot up. Frankie gets a little shot up. But he arrives late to the party, but like she got stood up where they were going to meet, and she went to the party alone. And at the party, this is when we find out that like just the people in general are just shitty.
Oh, they're the worst. Because like when they were at work, they were talking to Yor, being like, "Oh, you're so pretty. I'm for sure you could nail yourself like a nice partner." And then they show up and they're like, "Wow, she actually didn't have anybody. Oh, if she's like going out of her way to come to this party but make excuses about how her date didn't show up, nah, she's definitely a spy. Should we report her? Oh, hell yeah." And she's just like, And this is the part you were talking about earlier where she was like, "I'm so fed up with these people. I'm sure if I killed everyone here, no one would ever know." No, stop. No, don't think like that. We don't want to think like that.
Yeah, because she doesn't do it without assignment. But like, because
exactly.
But this stuff creeps up on you eventually. That's the thing with Yor's character. They're not a serial killer. They're not a genocide run Undertale character. Lol. They're just like, they've got intrusive thoughts because that's like all they did for most of their life. And
yeah, exactly.
And the only cover they ever had was that they used to be like an acupuncture massager or whatever, which comes up later when she's getting ready to leave because she has accepted that she will never be able to have that normal life that like she saw in those people. And then Lloyd walks through the door covered in blood.
The most badass intro. I remember when I read this in the manga, and I was just like, okay, how are they going to swing this? I'm sure he's going to come through the door at any minute. I didn't expect him to come through the door completely covered in blood, shaking, about to fall the fuck down, be like, "Hello, everyone, I'm Lloyd Forger." And then everyone's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Oh, I had a bit of a run-in with a patient. You see, as a psychiatrist, this kind of happens all the time, so please don't worry about me."
I am 100% sure that Lloyd Forger has Naruto's healing factor.
Oh my god.
Because this is the first chapter we see it, but it certainly won't be the last. A scene where we've seen that he has taken an exorbitant amount of damage, and he is Twilight, and he hates that he has taken this much damage, and then they go through like 2 or 3 panels, and then suddenly he is completely healed up, 100%, I'm not hurt, and everything is fine, Lloyd Forger.
That's the Forger factor.
He absolutely heals like Naruto, and it is incredible. The cuts were gone, and he had wiped off the blood. He was just Fushiguro injured. Like you know.
Oh yeah.
No, I want $1 for every time a character in Jujutsu Kaisen bleeds from the head.
I want $1 for every time Megumi Fushiguro bleeds from the head. I think that's enough. That's a lot of money.
God.
That's more than enough money. It's like, it's gotta, by the end of the show, it'll be $30.
It's gotta be.
It'll be very good.
It's gotta be about the same amount of how many times Bisco was bleeding from his head in Saokui Bisco.
Oh my god, if I got $0.25 for every time Bisco was bleeding from his head, I would be a millionaire.
This guy really does get his ass kicked like Yusuke from Girl Chan in Paradise. Like, because I was gonna say he gets waxed at Sasuke rates, and then I was like, no, he gets waxed at Yusuke for Girl Chan rates. If I wanted you to say something,
That is true.
so Lloyd comes in, and he's got an answer for everything. Because remember, he knows this girl's upbringing. And, like, there's a scene where they go, like, hey, Lloyd, how do you feel about how your wife, I guess, because he says that he's her husband by accident, he totally fucks up. And it's like, how do you feel if your wife, who's apparently your wife, used to do massages, which, like, you know, that's the happy ending kind of massages, you know, that kind of stuff.
The gross kind of massages that are always made fun of in like old like 80s and 90s movies.
Yeah, and
The
like
Final
this is a
Fantasy
spy
VII
thing,
remake
so-
massages.
Yeah,
The FF7 remake massages.
yeah, the Cloud Strifes.
But like specifically the one where you don't pay a lot, so they just beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, seriously. So he finishes that, and she finishes saying that to him, and he's like, good on you, Yor. You know, Yor grew up without their parents and having to take care of their brother all by themselves. The amount of despair that this woman must have went through and what she endured to make sure that her and her brother could live a quiet, happy life must have been immeasurable amounts of suffering for her. And you have to respect a person like that, because I could never live up to that kind of expectation as Twilight. So Yor is just like,
the as Twilight is in parentheses,
Yeah.
obviously.
yeah, well, no, but like that's just how like he's Twilight's the one saying this. Think about that for a second.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
He believes that everything he does is for the greater good of mankind, and he still thinks that what she is doing is greater than what he is doing. And he doesn't, and obviously he doesn't know. But like, Yor is just like, holy shit, I think I love this guy.
I think this dude's hot as fuck.
Oh my god, I can't say that I love this guy, but I could seriously see myself loving this guy. This is the most legit person I've ever met. And that's so, and I think that's very funny, because that's kind of the joke of Spy Family, is like, no one's legit except they're all legit. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then to end off that scene, Camilla, the bitch holding the party, she's molding because she really, really wanted to turn in Yor to the government and make her life miserable because she was bored. Like, I know people like that. I know people that would have done that type of shit, but she's just like, I'm bored. I wasn't able to fuck up her life. I can at least throw this gratin at her. So she's like, oh, hey, excuse me, everyone. Oh, no, I've slipped. And she throws this tray of food that was going to land directly on both Lloyd and Yor. Yor kicks the tray, grabs it with her hands, and then is just like, oh, man, that was close. And then Lloyd is like, I respect you. And Yor,
He's
You
like,
want to not waste food.
yeah, he's like,
yes, I respect you and your want to not waste food. And then a piece of the hot shrimp lands on Camilla's face, and she's just like, oh, fuck! And they're just like, oh, this is so good. Well, we gotta go. Bye. And then Camilla is just eating dog shit the whole time. It's great. It's such a good comeuppance of like this mini arc. And then we get to the part of the episode that I actually forgot about in the manga, where they're driving home. They're discussing their plan, being like, I'm sorry that I called you my wife, you know? And they're just, talking about everything that happened. They're talking about their plans for getting the interview and stuff together.
I'd like to note something.
Go ahead.
Usually with animes like this, when they cut to the car, it's usually like an intense awkwardness, and then they don't break the silence until a certain amount of time. I think that this show did a very good job with just having the conversation, and just and like the way that Twilight starts the conversation is such a bro way. He's like, and it doesn't fit, and it fits Lloyd Forger, but it doesn't fit Twilight. So it's very cool that he can change his face like this almost. They get out of there, they're in the car, they're driving, and he goes, man, I'm sorry. I really fucked up. and she's just like, and this is very like Yor Briar, like, no, it's cool. Like we did a good job in there with no practice.
And so they were both bottoms.
Yeah, that's true.
They were both bottoms, but they're in the car and they're just driving along when all of a sudden, the thugs that stole the diamonds catch up to Lloyd, and he's like, shit, they followed me? How? Was there a tracer in the art? He doesn't know. So he's just like, well, and then Yor's like, what's happening? Who are those guys? Those are some of my patients. It appears that I was not done treating them yet. We need to go. And so she's just like, I see. And he's like, she believed that?
Oh my god, that was very funny because I was watching this episode with my girlfriend and their brother, and they were talking about how it's like this is like what whack was going on. And then Twilight, they both looked at the same time at the screen back to continue watching the show as Twilight says, she believed that, and then they both start laughing. and that, I thought that was good.
And then we lead to a scene where the criminals are chasing them down an alleyway, and Lloyd is kicking the shit out of them, and Yor's again like, are you sure you should be hitting your patients? Oh yes, this type of full contact concussion type treatment is the age of modern medicine. Oh, I see. And then at the bottom of the screen, it just says, this is fiction. And he's over here just like, I can't tell if this girl is bright or insanely stupid.
Oh yeah, I had to point that out too. It's such a funny thing. And in the manga, there's like 2 subtitles that say this is fiction. There's one that's on the ground that was in the anime, and then there's another one that goes like, as a work of fiction, this is a storytelling device and not what would happen in real life. Which I was just like, wow, they really just got away with that, didn't they? But now Yor can beat the shit out of people in front of Twilight, which is both an amazing thing and a bad thing.
I mean, she gets to send a dude flying against a wall, and she's just like, wow, he sure went far, huh? Fuck.
Well, yeah, there's that, and then she's also like, oh no, I'm so sorry, I probably ruined your method. Or like, I shouldn't have dealt with your clients, your patients.
And he's like, no, it's fine, you did great. And then, as they're running, Yor is talking to Lloyd, and she's like, you know what? How's about we take it a step further? How's about we actually get married? Lloyd freezes, face plants, eats fucking
just
shit.
Fucking eats pavement.
He
just goes
shit.
Like, what? Like, he's just really confused.
And I'm losing my mind at this because they had taken the pieces of art back. He had grabbed a diamond ring because he was going to put that on Yor's finger for the interview to make it look legit. They start, and then he goes for his pocket looking for the diamond ring. There's a hole in his pocket, so the diamond ring fell out. And he's like, shit, where did it go? So he does the most metal fucking thing I could ever imagine. So They're both running. They hide for cover behind like a box, essentially, as bullets are flying fucking everywhere. This is some shit straight out of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which this is the thing I always compare this to, is just Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but good. And essentially, he's like, well, I don't have an engagement ring, so this is the next best thing. He grabs a grenade, he pulls the pin, chucks it over the box, and then places the pin on her finger. And then says, well, I guess now you and I are married until my mission, until my killing, do us part. And then there's just this giant explosion in the back, and they cut to an angle of like a bird's eye view from the buildings. And
How does she accept that you can throw grenades at your psych patients? Please, someone explain this one to me. She can't be that gullible. And if she is, all right.
So I'm going to say this.
I'll suspend my disbelief for Lloyd Forger.
I want to say she probably didn't even notice the grenade because of how down bad she was at that moment.
I would think that maybe at this point, because she has to be accepting this stuff like way too quickly, I think she suspects him as being like no, he's got to be in some kind of line of work like that.
No,
really, not a bit,
not even in the slightest.
She suspects nothing, just like how Lloyd suspects nothing. And that's the bit. They don't know. They just don't know.
And nobody knows that Anya is an Esper. That's the whole story that's the whole gimmick of the show.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking about, because like I haven't read the manga, you guys have, so I don't know anything past these episodes.
Okay, so in episode 3, there's going to be like a scene where like Anya is just like, they don't know, but they don't know I know both of them. He. Like,
yeah.
Look at how much knowledge Anya has that neither of them do. It's crazy.
Yeah, I figured that much from looking at like the poster. Like, there's if they're setting up where it's like, oh, at the very least, as soon as like Twilight has done his mission, they're like, oh, that's when I'm gonna end the marriage and like leave. I think what's probably gonna end up happening is, you know, this mission that he's got where like, you know, Anya's got to go to the school and everything. One or the both of them is going to like, you know, actually fall in love with like this family dynamic they have, and either like knowingly sabotage the mission or knowingly prolong the like what has to be done.
I think that what's going to happen is that everyone's going to be built up into thinking that Yor is falling in love with Lloyd, and then Twilight is going to like actually start a family with these people after this mission, and it's going to be like this big realization of like him realizing what he like wants, and then then the end game's just going to be like a happy ending, and like both of them leave the jobs. And there'll be like an after storyline, like one more arc, which will be like, how do they get out of the business? You know?
Ooh, yeah.
I don't think they're gonna save the world though. You know, I think the world's gonna.
No,
I personally think this world is just going to stay shitty and only get slightly better from their actions, and then like, it'll leave it up to the imagination whether or not things will become, you know, not like a deranged imperialist military state based around like catching spies.
Well, I was just gonna say real quick to kind of transition us out of here. Finally, is given shows like Spy Family, Jujutsu Kaisen, shit like Chainsaw Man, Kaiju number, whatever that show is. Is it Kaiju number 7? There's a whole bunch of really good shit right now in Jump. And I legitimately think that we have hit a new golden age of like Shonen Jump, essentially. Because like everything in Jump right now, if you ask me, is so wildly just creative and new. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you have a lot of shit like Spy Family, which is such like it's such a fresh show. And if you had told me this was going to be something that was in Jump like 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been like, what the fuck are you talking about? That doesn't sound like something I'd expect from Jump. I'd expect stuff like, you know, like action battle shows, or very occasionally like a comedy thing, or like a straight comedy gag manga. Not something like this that actually has a serious narrative. that is also able to combine so many comedic elements so well. So, especially after seeing this adaptation, because I was already a huge fan, but seeing this adaptation and seeing that OP that made me want to lose my goddamn mind and everything about this show, I'm so excited to keep this train going.
The opening for this show is one of the best openings ever made in all of mankind or the world. At approximately 49 seconds into the opening, you will see a transition that changes your life forever. Because the show's opening naturally begins very silly, and I think that really fits the vibe that the show is trying to give. That's all I wanted to say.
It's giving the OP in general takes a lot of inspiration from those old pulp like spy movies.
Mm-hmm.
And and if you want an even further example of something like that done in like a modern age, just compare that to like a lot of the concept art and shit in Team Fortress 2, and you're just like, wow. Like it's super evocative of that era, and I think it is gorgeous because of that. But so Jujutsu Kaisen though. We got 3 episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen to cover, and I need to be out of here in 30 minutes.
Oh boy.
Okay.
We have speed run this. Okay.
That's not a speed run. We can do 10 minutes an episode. So Jujutsu Kaisen episode 7. All right, so Jujutsu Kaisen episode 7, Japanese air date November 14th, 2020, US air date January 1st, 2021. So it covers chapters 14 through 16 in one episode. This is because this is the fight between Satoru Gojo and Jogo, the volcano guy with cork in his ears.
Yeah, Volcano McCork.
Yeah. So this is the best example of a squash match in Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh my god.
And it begins with a fake squash match between Jogo and Gojo, where Jogo just unloads some of the coolest fire-based attacks I think I've seen in a very long time. I feel like Todoroki and Endeavor are being given a run for their money in this scene, honestly. And they could learn something from this. Studio Mappa really showing Studio Bones what it's like in the real world. Now, during this, obviously, we get the realization that Gojo is not taking any damage from like all these incredible attacks, and these attacks look like they could hurt like Dragon Ball characters. The way that they're portrayed, the animation of like the fire itself just looks incredible, and Gojo is just like, man, this guy's crazy. he's like, wow, this guy's nuts. This could have been a problem if I wasn't here.
Yeah, it's like, if I wasn't literally God, wow, this would suck.
I don't think anybody else could really deal with this guy right now. At least now I know what I gotta teach these kids. All right. And then he's like, hey, so you hit my infinity, but not me. And the guy's like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? I'm a special curse or whatever that can a special grade curse. And I'm as strong as 8 Sukuna fingers. And then Gojo, it's like, hey, put out your hand. Try and touch my hand. And the guy's like, I mean, I already hit him with everything I got. What's he gonna do? Kill me? And
What's he gonna do? Shoot me?
So he walks over to him because he feels no intent to harm, and there isn't any. And the guy's like, I can't touch him. I'm trying really hard to touch this hand, and I can't touch him. It's like, yeah, that's my infinity. I can just like use that. And we were trying to compare it during the watch along together. And I definitely feel like it's like Inoue Orihime, but like better. You know? Like she's not confined to the like 6 pieces of hairpins. She actually has like everything Aizen thought she had. So when this guy does anything, it's just fucking awful to the opponent. Just there is no fairness here. And this guy, again, he's as strong as 8 Sukuna fingers, and we watched what 3 can do to Fushiguro, you know? Like, and Fushiguro has, like, all these flight maneuvering, all this mobility, and he still got waxed by Sukuna.
Well, I mean, again, right now, he has the greatest ability that no shonen protagonist would want, in that he has the ability to job.
Yes, he does. Fushiguro really does just take
Literally
damage.
right now, he is jobbing, and he's trying not to job, but he won't stop
He's
jobbing.
jobbing, but we're supposed to take him seriously like Sasuke. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He's such a weird character. I'm not going to get into that because I've spoiled myself on Fushiguro a little bit. But, like, anyway, Gojo just beats the ever-loving piss out of this guy. And in the middle of the guy going flying 200 miles into the water, he teleports away and grabs Itadori.
In like the matter of 10 seconds, this man like warps back to the school, grabs Itadori, warps back, and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And they're just sitting there, just standing on water. Itadori looks down and he goes, "Woo."
Remember, he walked in and had a full conversation with Itadori while Itadori was watching Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was literally watching Lord of the Rings, and then just like has to snap out of this emotional stupor of watching Sam cry and piss and shit.
Yeah, just for, if anybody out there who's watching this and or comic books explained content likes Lord of the Rings, if you ever wanted to see Sam in an anime, I guess you get what you want.
This is the one time you're gonna get it. This is the one time you're gonna get it.
Maybe we'll see more Lord of the Rings in other anime.
There is apparently going to be a Lord of the Rings anime, but you know what? We're not talking about that right now because it doesn't exist yet.
Actually.
Are we going to talk about it when it does exist?
So, Itadori, Gojo's like, "Hey, Itadori, I'm going to teach you about domain expansion." And Itadori's like, "Whatever the fuck that is, I'm in." And so they come back, and Gojo is like, "Hey, this is the Itadori's here. I'm holding him. He's gonna watch our fight." And Jogo is like, "Okay, this is the most preposterous disrespect of me as a cursed being, as an anything. I've had it. I'm gonna fuck you up. I don't care what it takes. I'm gonna fuck you up. Activate domain expansion." And he summons it, and apparently it's like a stand that's a field spell.
Okay, hang on. So let me kind of explain in another way. If you've ever watched Fate, essentially a lot of people in that universe have the ability to make their own little like pocket dimensions where inside of that dimension they're able to like super duper power themselves up and or like have special abilities or special attacks. And
it's the Shadow Realm, but your Shadow Realm.
Yeah, it's your own personal Shadow Realm. It's your own personal, like, field power bonus from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
But you can just put it down whenever you want. It's just, it takes a lot of energy to do it. But while you're in your domain, you get to fuck with people.
It is literally like if Judai just was like at any point, like, "Oh, I'm losing." Anyway, skyscraper. Like, just
Yeah, he
pulls it out. No, he doesn't even have it in his hand.
Skyscraper.
He just pulls it out. Like, anyway, skyscraper. Like, there you go.
Yeah, it's like if all of those guys in that filler arc were able to just activate the Seal of Orichalcos with their mind.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
or like, so this guy's is called Coffin of the Iron Mountain, and it is supposed to be like if you're trapped inside a volcano. And apparently within domain expansions, all of your attacks will always hit. That's absurd. Anyway, so Gojo is explaining how you beat domain expansions, and they're all really shitty ways, is what he explains, except using your own domain expansion. So he activates his, which is called Unlimited Void, where he traps Gojo in that space you get in when you haven't had any CBD from smoking too much weed and you're like mega high and you can't move and you're processing information at like an incredible rate that you can't control, so you just start wigging out.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Undertale? If you've ever played Undertale and you lie down with Napstablook, it's just that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Precisely. That is a very precise explanation of how they showed it. They even did the ink splatter that people like to see in anime, like in The End of the World Ends With You.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really good, except it also looks like another example of Studio Mappa knowing exactly how to spend the money. Because they use still shots, They took very quick movements, and then they spent all the money on Gojo's head being twisted off of his head, or Gojo's twisting Jogo's head off of his body, and then
He looks so good.
and then interrogating him as a headless spirit. Because remember, this guy doesn't need like lungs and shit.
Yeah, exactly. He can live off of just pure malice and Twitter.com posts.
Yeah, this guy is a walking Twitter.com post. Like, look at it.
He's just a bad tweet. He's just a bad tweet.
Yeah, and
He's
Gojo's
just
the
every single
non-existent
Mr.
mod.
Entertake we've seen on Twitter as of late.
Oh my god.
Fuck that
So eventually the backup crew shows up and distracts Gojo by like getting Itadori attacked by like a killer plant. And Itadori's like, "I'm fine, teacher. Just let me handle this. Never mind. I'm gonna die. Save me."
Just the change up between that confidence to him just shitting his pants was so, I can relate. It's such a mood.
And so that was really most of that. After that, it's like the villains having their little "we'll get him next time" like conversation, and then a post-credits sequence where they play soccer with Gojo's head or Jogo's head.
It is so strong. It is so strong.
Very good scene. It reminds me of a meme I saw a couple of months ago, where it's like the Jujutsu Kaisen and our protagonists, and it's all of them like going crazy and having like curse marks on their body and like screaming, and then it's like the Jujutsu Kaisen antagonists, and it's all of them on the beach having a good time. Now we're going on to Jujutsu Kaisen episode 8 on November 21st, 2020, and January 8th, 2021. The Kyoto students are here, and we meet two of them, and they're a pair of interesting individuals.
I love them both. I love them both. Tadashi, not Tadashi. Oh my gosh, the girl in
Why?
particular exudes that bitch energy. I love her
Yeah.
so much. I just want her to kill everybody.
Although,
And honestly, I feel like she could do it.
is she even your favorite girl that gets introduced in this episode, though? Because what about the blue-haired girl?
She doesn't even have a name yet.
That's true.
She
But-
actually might have a name. I just don't
Yeah,
remember it. But she's not the best. She's only the second,
Listen,
third best.
listen.
So we've got Mai, who's being like a mega ultra bitch and is basically like, "I could kill all of you." Ha ha ha. And then Todo, who like at first is this quiet, like looking like Kuwabara kind of vibe and stand-in man, and then all of a sudden he looks at Fushiguro because they're talking to Fushiguro and Nobara, and Fushiguro, and he's like, "Fushiguro, what kind of women do you like to fuck?" and
And then Fushiguro's over here just like,
what the
What?
fuck?
No,
what?
this man just rips off his shirt and goes, "I love a woman with a big ass." Like, oh,
And then the opening starts.
and then the opening starts.
Yeah. So Todo is like, "I just want to know. I think that people who who have good tastes in women are like strong individuals that I want to have combat with. And if you're boring, I'm gonna fucking kill you." And Fushiguro's just like, "Nobara's here. She's unarmed. I really don't want to get into a fight today. I'll just be honest, and I hope that that's good enough for this guy. If I'm honest." And he's like, and he has a flashback to like a girl he cares about, and then he's like, as long as the person is compassionate, I don't need anything else. And then Nobara's like, "Good, because if you said big titties, I would have fucking murdered you." And then Fushiguro's just like, dude, come on. And then
you gotta have a better like view of me than this.
Come
I know
on.
the bar is in hell, but come on.
I know
have
I
higher
killed.
standards.
I know I killed Itadori. Okay, I'm already living with that. Can we move on?
Please.
Yeah, and then Todo is just like, "Fuck, I gotta fucking kill you, don't I? You're boring. You suck." And then he charges Megumi. Megumi's like, "Okay, I can beat this guy. Okay, I got frogs." And then the guy's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill these frogs." and then the guy's like, "Wait, aren't you the Todo who like killed a special grade in 5A classes when like 100 demons or cursed spirits attacked?" And he's like, yeah, but I'm not going to use curse techniques or you will actually die. And Megumi's like, you're an asshole. I'm going to kick your ass. Oh my God.
Yeah, Megumi is over here just being like, I've been holding back this whole time, but you know what? I guess I gotta go now. And then all of a sudden, you see Panda Rock Lee come out of nowhere, and then also
Toge.
Fish Topping Boy.
Yeah,
Cool.
Toge. So
Yeah,
Toge
Toge.
shows up, and he goes, hey, slow down. Which slows down the guy, because that's what his cursed spirit power does, or his cursed powers do. And then the panda just wails on the dude and is like, get the fuck off our friend. And then they're like, and then the guy, and Toto's like, okay, chill, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I have an idol show to go to after this. I've got to shake that woman's hand. I want to fuck that lady so bad.
No, I'm not even gonna say that. He just wants to shake her hand. That's how idol culture works.
Yeah. But like that guy thinks that he's gonna marry that woman.
That's all idol culture. Idol culture is the fucking worst.
So anyway, he's like, I'm gonna meet this idol, so I can't just fucking kill you and die trying, So he gets out of there. And then he leaves, and during that, Nobara and Maki were talking, and Maki puts a gun to Nobara's hip, and Nobara grabs her and puts her in the Samoa Joe Kokina clutch. like instantly, like frame zero, locks her in the Kokina clutch and is ready to kill this bitch. And then suddenly the girl in Team Guy walks up, and it's like, okay, guys, let's chill. So everyone chills, and then the teachers, or then it's time for like the plot to continue.
And then at that point, I'm trying to remember everything here. This is when we have Gojo that goes up to the headmaster, if I recall,
Yes.
right? The old man, the guy that's at the tippy tip top of the bureaucracy. He sits down. He's like, hey, headmaster of the school, I think you're full of shit. And then there's this blue-haired girl that's over here just like, you can't be so rude to the headmaster like this. And I'm just like, because like I saw her on the way in, and I'm like, okay, I love this girl. She's over here like, you can't be talking shit about the headmaster. And then I'm like, I hate this girl. And then immediately a frame after
I think,
that.
What is it? I think you specifically said like, oh, she's a conservative. Oh.
That's right. Yeah. I was like, God, she's a conservative. I hate this. And then all of a sudden she lights up and she's like, oh man, Gojo's so cool. And I'm like, never mind. I love her. She's the best. And then it just basically turns into Gojo just like railing into this guy, being like, wow, I don't respect you at all. You're shit. All of the shit that you're trying to do with Itadori and whatnot is foul and awful. And if I had my say, I'd fucking kill you. And then the headmaster's like, you're speaking out of line. And then Gojo's like, well, I've said what I need to say. Bye. And he just books it. And then immediately books his way back in for a second to be like, oh, the principal's going to be here in 2 hours. Bye. And then actually just leaves.
That's how I do it, honestly.
No, yeah, it's like, he was probably told that he just needed to tell him that. So he was just like, oh, I'm going to just unload all of my emotional baggage onto this old man, and then tell him the thing I actually have to tell him, and then fuck off.
He did have Itadori killed, like I would too.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if you had the most badass, like, pet project murdered in front of you ever, yeah, I'd be pretty pissed about it. It's like, your volcano that you made for your science project at school, some kid also just like, smashed the shit out of it with a hammer. And you're like, dude, I spent all of like 2 days working on that and you just smashed it. Also, it had the bones of my dead cat like put into the resin that I used to make the volcano, and you just smashed it. Yeah, no, I'm gonna break your skull in.
All right.
That's how it works.
So there is so do you guys want to talk about the post credits to the episode and like the end of the episode so we can get on to the last one?
Oh, where is that where the headmaster basically tells the blue-haired girl like
The movie theater.
Oh, the movie theater stuff. Never mind. There was too much at the end to like go over. So like I'm like,
yeah, so Yuji and Nanami is his name.
It is Kento Nanami.
Yeah, so that guy's kind of neat, by the way. We'll get to that in a bit.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Nanami and Itadori go to the movie theater, and they find out that there was an incident there where these people got their bodies mutilated and or mutated by like curses and died. So they're going to.
I was about to say
investigate.
mutilated would be the right word.
It was mutilated, yeah.
Yeah.
So, in the post-credits scene, Toto and Mai are able to get the little handshake that they wanted, or Toto's able to, and then offers another ticket to Mai to give it a shot. And Mai sits in line, and like the people in the line are intimidated by her. And then she gets there, and the idol is like, "Wow, a girl! Whoa, that's awesome! Hi!" And Mai's like, "Hey, I'm Mai. Nice to meet you." And then they shake hands, and she's like, "Come back another time. I'll make sure to remember you." And then Mai goes back to Toto, and she's just not talking, and he's like, "So, how was it?" She was like, "It was different." And then he's like, "Yeah, it really is beyond words, isn't it?" And then she's like, that wasn't so bad. That was fine. Whatever.
You say that, but it was more along the lines of, "Oh no, that was okay. That was fine." Like you can hear the gay just imminent, just like slowly fermenting off of her words. You can tell that this was a life-changing experience, and she is okay about
She's
it.
affected.
She is affected.
Like a girl
She was
held your
affected.
hand, and then she leaned in and spoke into your ear. Like that's, yeah, absolutely.
100%. I would have been wasted. Absolutely wasted.
At the end of the episode, like as they're looking at like what happened to the bodies, we see one of the villains walking away from the movie theater, and then a new character shows up and is like, "Hey, are you the one? Are you the one who did that?" And then like that's it. That's episode 8. So it continues this scene in episode 9, which was aired on November 28th, 2020 and January 15th, 2021. Where we get introduced to the new, like, the eye covered by hair dude. I believe his name is Yoshino. The episode starts with him getting bullied by his peers, and then and it's because apparently they thought like he was peeping the girl.
It opens up with a pretty metal line from the kid where he's just like, "If I could hit a button that would kill everyone in the world that I hated, yeah, no, I don't think I would press it. If I could press a button that would kill everyone on this planet that hated me, I would press it instantly." And then it just cuts. And I'm just like, that's kind of metal. It's really fucked up, but it's kind of metal. And then all of a sudden, I would hear this kid talk more and more in the episode. And then I'm like, oh no. I used to really relate to this kid, and I think that that's not a good thing.
This guy's internal monologue is very heavy, because like most of the time he's just kind of like, "Hey, could you guys not be annoying?" And then he's like, "These guys are really fucking annoying."
Yeah. Like, this is definitely, like, the author understood what it meant to be a bullied kid when he wrote this fucking kid, because I'm over here just like, I
A lot
used to
of
be
that
exactly
is
like
way
this.
too real. Yeah.
It's a little too real, and I don't like it, but also at the same time, I'm happy at least someone's talking about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it makes me remember that I was a huge piece of shit back in the day.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I was hesitating to say, like, when you mentioned the line he says at the start of like, "Oh yeah, if I could press a button that would kill everybody that hated me," I'd immediately press it. I would. Because no, that's just how it is. Especially at that time, like, you don't want these people to just, take over your life and ruin everything for you. Like, it means a lot to be like, I don't want to be in that situation.
So eventually he's getting really fucking annoyed, and then suddenly that Mahito guy who works for the villain or works with the bad guys, the one who's like licking his blood-covered fingers in the opening, just
Oh yeah, that dude's great.
disfigures the guys by just touching them, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
And that's what leads to Junpei going outside to search for this guy and eventually finding him. And then they cut the scene. So they're like, we'll get to this in a minute.
Yeah.
Let's go see what's going on with Yuji Itadori, the grade 1 Jujutsu sorcerer.
And our boy
Or the
Kento.
first year grade sorcerer. And then a grade 1 sorcerer in Kento. As they're like looking at the corpses and like figuring out what happened with the curse technique that fucked them up. Yuji learns how to see like the energy and stuff like that.
Yeah, so he gets the ability to see cursed footprints, all of the energy shit. And then Kento turns to him and is like, oh, you should have been able to sense that before you saw them. And he's just like, dude, give me a break. And the banter between these two is really interesting because Kento will constantly just like talk about like how he views everything logically and he doesn't take emotion and such into his equation for anything. And he'll be like, for example, Itadori will be like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm going to put my 100% into this. Let's go. And Kento will turn to him and bluntly just be like, no, don't put 100% into this. This is stupid. You should only put in like some moderate effort. Let's go. And then Itadori's like, what? And then you like flash back to Kento being introduced to Itadori, which is by far... Kento is maybe my favorite character now. And I feel I can only say that because I am almost 30. Because he is basically over here being like, he's looking at Itadori, and he's like, I see that you're trying to work hard and get everything going. Well, let me be the first to tell you, work is shit! You shouldn't have to work all that hard to get where you're wanting. You need to be smart about it. Work is shit! And then he turns to Gojo, and he's like, you know, I really appreciate everything that you do. I think that you're really strong. I do not respect you. And every time he raises his volume, it uses the exact same worm's eye shot from below with really high contrast, like highlights and shadows with like the light shining behind him. And it is the funniest shit in the entirety of that episode. It's so good.
It's like Satsuki Kiryuin's like pose with the sword and like looking down upon everyone, but like at an angle.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so good. And then they get to the top of the building, and there's this really genius point where Kento and Itadori are walking on top of the building, and they're kind of just doing, recon. And as they're walking around and talking, you see a curse monster come from behind them, and it is so diegetic. You see it, they don't even notice it, and then it comes into frame for about a second or two, and then like walks off, and then it takes them a minute to notice that it's there. And so they see these two curse monsters, and then Kento and Itadori are like, well, guess we gotta fight these. And that's when Itadori learns the ability to make his fists into shotguns by pumping them full of cursed energy, and he gets the passive buff to all of his attacks are doubled. So he punches you once, and then the cursed energy punches you. So he gets like a big shonen power-up moment here. And they're framing it as, oh, yo, Itadori is like actually getting stronger. He's doing all of this shit. He can kick the shit out of these cursed beings. And then Kento's like, wait a minute. What? And he sees that one of them's wearing a watch. Takes a picture of it with his phone. Demons don't show up on your phone. And so it is learned at this precise moment that these cursed beings that Itadori got to test out his new power on. He just learned the Kamehameha, and he just was like, yeah, this is great. I can do this. This is awesome. Look at all this power I have. He just used it to kill two innocent people that had been disfigured into monsters. And he is told about this, and he's not taking it well. He is angry. He is depressed at himself and the circumstances that caused it. And there's
especially considering he promised his grandfather that he would be good to other people.
Exactly. And there's so much emotion in his face, especially with the way that the shot is set up. There's a lot of very dark hues. There's a lot of shadow, but his eyes are 100% in focus and super bright so that you can see directly into them. And all in all, he is given a new determination. He's told, like, also after the fact, oh, those people were already dead. It's fine. You didn't actually kill them or anything. But that's not going to help him. And so he and Kento are sitting together in a dark office. Kento does something very adult-like, which is another reason why I think I love his character so much. He stands up, he turns to Itadori, and from a full 360 of his previous position says, okay, Itadori, we're putting in all of our effort into this. And he's showing Itadori he is serious. Someone who's very stoic, that doesn't let emotion get into the way of the shit that he does, is essentially being like, oh yeah, no, we're doing this. I'm just as pissed as you are. And so they start trailing Coconut Head, emo hair in front of his eye man, and then that's when we cut back to him.
Oh yeah, and they've just been like staring each other down, you know, and Mahito talks to, I think that his name's Junpei Yoshino is what I've got.
Yes, it is Junpei. I just remembered. It is Junpei.
So Junpei wants to level up. He wants to know how to do that to people. So he's asking this guy, he's like, can you teach me how to do that?
Can you teach me the cool body horror maiming thing? And then Mahito is like, I like you. Which I definitely don't want someone who maims and mangles people to be all like, we should be friends. That's, no. I could be friends with a lawyer first, I think. Personally.
According to the titles you gave us in episode 1, you already are.
That is true. Okay, let me rephrase that then. Maybe I could be friends with a cop first.
Oh my god,
Ooh.
yeah? Okay.
Like, I could maybe be friends with a cop before I was friends with Mahito. But essentially, Junpei wants to learn how to do fuck-up shit magic. And so, we cut back now to Itadori and Kento, who are on patrol. And they park next to him, and they're like, okay, we're gonna trail him. We're going on patrol. And Itadori has like a couple of demons in like a little cage. And they're just following this kid. And then
Credits.
Episode just cuts. Yep, episode just cuts. And we get the cool ED. And yeah, there's not much to it after that. There's like a post-credits scene.
Gojo tries to ask Nanami out.
Oh yeah! No, it's the D's Nuts joke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then I remember I absolutely died here. It's Gojo is just like trying to get Kento's attention. Kento's like, man, fuck this, you're a nerd. I don't want to talk to you. And then Gojo is just like hiding in vending machines. He's stalking him. It's real creepy. He hands him a piece of paper, and then Kento's like, he opens it, and it's just a drawing of a dick. This is penis. And I lost my fucking mind because I was like, oh, this is gonna be some sort of pun. No, it's literally just him being like, yo, D's nuts. And I'm just like, you motherfucker. Gojo has the power to manipulate the entirety of infinity and the universe. And he's 12. I love video games, man.
Well, why wouldn't he be, you know?
Oh, God.
I'd be 12
But I'm
too.
going to say, but there were a lot of standout shots, I feel, in these 3 episodes. In particular, the fight between Volcano McCorkhead and Gojo.
Oh yeah.
Like, there were some ridiculously nice Sakuga shots going on. Especially, there was a point where it was Gojo kicking Volcano McCorkhead down. He had a very distinct eye flash that almost looked like some goddamn Sans shit. There were some ridiculous panoramic shots in a lot of the fights that had a very nice use of 2D and 3D elements that looked, again, very UFO table-ish. And, like, just, God, everything about episode 7 and a lot of episode 8 were just, oh, there's so many good shots. Like the fight between Fushiguro and Todo had some very, very strong moments with Fushiguro being planted through a ton of buildings. Again.
Yep.
He cannot catch a break. Bleeding from his head. Again. Once again, he just cannot catch a break. And there's just all of these incredibly high impact Sakuga shots, showing again that Studio Mappa makes some really fucking cool looking shit. Like, oh my god. And I know there was a point with Yukai when we were watching the fight between Jobo and Gojo, and there was this track that starts playing when they're having the fight in the forest with that big Sakuga pan around fight. And like there was some ridiculous like impact and smear frames, and then that song hits, and you're just like, ah. And there was also like a really cool musical cue at one point in episode 9 where Kento is doing like a long explanation, and then the music is kind of subdued. It feels a lot more calm, like traditional. And then it switches over because it's 2 fights going on at the same time. It switches over to Itadori, and Itadori's all of a sudden starts him powering up, and you can hear the percussion in stark contrast just going up and up and up and up and up. And it's like, okay, things are about to pick up, and it makes more sense for Itadori's fight theme to have a lot more percussion because he's a lot more rough. He is a lot more bombastic, and they were using that subtle hint in the music, as well as the fact that he was using his new ability to accentuate how much of an impact everything has. And even when he's fighting, a lot of what he was like accentuating with his hits were like, oh, big impact with my strength. Now the cursed energy delivers a second impact, and that is added to by that like ridiculously extra amount of percussion. Like, it's just small things like that that Studio Mappa is intentionally doing with their decisions with this show, and it is absolutely wonderful.
You know, I thought that was a weird date. The capital attack did happen the same day as this episode dropped. I did feel like there was something going on. I thought it was the next one. Okay.
Oh god.
That's what was happening that day in the world, honestly. Very, very interesting.
Well, that's a nice note too.
I remember seeing Twitter go from
wrap
people
up.
talking about Jujutsu Kaisen to not talking about it.
Yeah. I don't blame him.
Whew, but I guess with that, that ends our little bit of a discussion for tonight. I actually need to, because I'm now 35 minutes late for a thing that I need to get to doing. But it's fine, because I wanted to talk about like that extra little bit of shots, that extra little bit that went into those shots in Jujutsu Kaisen, because these shots in particular and these episodes in particular actually stood out to me a ton. There's a lot that I want to kind of go into with some of the small stuff that I noticed watching those episodes that are just artistic decisions like that. I think are things that not a lot of people tend to talk about when it comes to like media and media criticism. And it's just small shit like that gets my rocks off. So it's like I noticed that shit today, and I'm just like, yo, that's so smart. So as per usual, if you are interested in everything that we're doing, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all the normal drivel that every other person on this platform will tell you at this point. If you would like to follow me, I am RedMufflerMan over on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Kai?
You can follow me at Kbul Art. That's KBULART at twitter.com. That's where I'm mostly at.
You can follow me on TechnoTenor487. Follow now. There's no content coming. There never was, never will be.
There will never be content. The content is dry.
No, the content is, this is the part where Lana goes, if you had thoughts about this episode, you can go to my Twitter.
Yeah, you can tell me how Tomodachi Game is the best anime you've ever seen in your entire life, and I can show you, and I can instantaneously send you to a link to the English dub of Hajime no Ippo on YouTube.
Nice. But also, okay, I don't think anyone's going to be saying that. I think there are people that might say you're a little too harsh on it. I think you're both a little too harsh. You need to watch some actual Battle Royale shows, y'all motherfuckers. Kai, you need to actually watch Dangen Ronpa before you make opinions on it.
No, listen, I'm
calling you out.
No, knowing you, I'm surprised you didn't just go like, you need to watch Kaiji. You need to watch Kaiji. Like that's you.
No, you need to watch Kaiji and you need to play Dangen Ronpa before you make opinions.
You know what? Promise me this then. I assume we're still rolling on the podcast. Promise me this, Nick. At some point when your stream schedule starts to, ease up a bit, we start a playthrough of Dangan Ronpa, and you get me to play that game.
Okay, you know what? Fine, we'll do the Dangen Ronpa live dub.
All right, let's fucking go.
We'll do it one day. But anywho, as per usual, if you are interested in any of the other content adjacent, you can follow Geek Culture Explained. There's also Comics Explained for all of the higher up people over there. Definitely show them some love because it's because of them we're able to do the things that we do. You can also support the Patreon. And with that, I need to get out of here so that I can put on a live stream.
Yeah, have a good one.
Take it easy,
All
everybody.
right.
Have a good one.
See ya.